to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
Yeng na near Tigana ha, and your name send and your message. Minim say, Abra and this Waba will make us say, Nagana Danisura Himemo. And so let me up bomb me cocoa, I can say, Abra and this Waba mo. Now your hotoyen, Ewa Ghana. And then so there, ye bibia asanichi. Baya na watchu menuni, nipa na oya minister, ana galamse nsem ni adiade, o hweso, o siano ni adiade. Ono kasa abekase galamse a omo ye no, eye MPP mpanyimfo no na eye sa galamse no. When I'm in America, on Dr. Frimpong Boateng, Omo minister, and I can say, Omo Muya Galamseno, a MPP Penufono, a B War Jubilee House, and Omoya War. Enti Osha, every MPP bar, Abatra Baimu, Yakwaya. Na yemma kwan emma obia ntimi nra kwayebu ene de omo nra kwaye no mu asese kwaye ni nyina eza abra ndc waba mu kofo abreso rollins abreso na yekase hamatan ba onte yente wo sehwe oso ne bibia ni ha onso enenso de Obeka se tamale hamatan ba na hawo na ejat mitom ni ade omo sei kwaye ni na ezu enti ona kasa ajatum se omo ena ye galamse no na omo yenso a na omo yi obi esinchen echese omo aka na omo nya ganafo omo kwa ye se community mining ni na omo DC omo MP omo ministers omo nyina ene tachi etimi ji nipa excavator se wo de yegalam se ne de akoma MPP ni non de ode ye djuma yan kwada omo ko juri kakra so enya bibie di ne achi omo ne de omo akoto efiase. Meanwhile, I'm paying for the Omoye, and so be intimate.
According to statistics provided by the Ghana Statistical Service, the year-on-year producer price inflation, which measures the average change in the prices of goods and services received by domestic producers for their production activities, has increased by 31.2% for local businesses. This has increased the cost of doing business with little to no profit at all. Our interaction with some artisans who deal in cane and bamboo chairs, beds, and basket weaving at the Switchback Road at Labone in Accra painted a clear picture of the worsening situation. Managers of Sister Ifia Cane Works tells me that sustaining her cane weaving business has become a daily struggle. According to her, the cost of finishing products used for her wares has tripled, making earning profits from the business impossible.
The economists near Kwesi first 90 sa. They say I know a thing. They say I polish me will be a polishing kunyan mammy. But I say the name was I then. Me I may polish my days, can meet you and me. Vanish near Tono 70 Ghana. I say I do 2 million. Petrol near 50 Ghana. 20 Ghana to me polish a kunya set. They say 50 Ghana to me polish. I know a thing to your buying share my.
Owner of Bigash Weaving Enterprise, Abigail Togli, also shared similar sentiments, stating that government must get to work as soon as possible to alleviate their plight.
First, no. Like I said, first, into man, one set. Me start here one set, no. Up and down, no. 70 Ghana. But see, I ne into man, I call 600, 800. Then see, I want to buy bedding. I want to first see a 4 cedi, 5 cedi 50, 5 cedi 50 pesos. Recently, me maybe me man 10 cedis. I did see me small say I want to short into moon perfect from Bremen. I got 13. See, I'm in the Mocasa, 19 cedis per one. Get wavy. And to me, Sena Nombo, say Ghana forbid to me a bois. I consider just so munka kraswa a beboa. Na send ye or mampenino. Nebeka Sunday need ye, Miss Anna or Sudayanti. On sim. Number cousin papa trey. Sunday dear no cayeno. And ye no na ye troman, near troman, and I say, Miss Waja will feel. And on from Ra. Number kind. On the cousin papa Ghana for.
Joyce Sasu, a seamstress who also sells fabrics at the center, called on government to fix Ghana's worsening economic situation.
Yes, they say I might call from. Just only an band to mano, who cook room and a boy den. Into banana the price in a mawa. Obejina no adane hoko. Began to first and then to say, our body pan or bad dear. A young fan crown or beton to say near master son, near me my den. I might not me quite crazy, see, and I may buy. Me buy, me fro come, me fro Monday, me call you. Me buy a lot of friends, I send the 70 pesos as I to so. Man, on share, not can emana from. And my answer, ye bread will be bar. As I want to add any boy, then. And so, Tissa. Baby, and me cook my bitch to Musa, baby say bizarre, a costro, and my costro, I didn't, yan share my a woman said, baby, I'm so, a year too much.
These cane weavers, like other businesses, say they are struggling to survive despite several promises made by government to boost performance of small-scale businesses in the country. They stressed that government has failed to provide alternative sources of livelihoods and must therefore act now to save their businesses from impending collapse.
As part of government's broader vision to develop port infrastructure, including the existing commercial port of Tema and Takrade, and the proposed inland port to be located at Bankra and in Pankadang, it plans to construct a third commercial port in anticipation of increased African continental trade in Qatar. The project, when constructed, is expected to create a commercial cargo port that can accommodate containerized, bulk and oil and gas shipment. A shipyard facility is also envisioned. It also aims at creating jobs and opportunities for the industry. The project will be developed in 4 phases, with the first phase estimated to cost $600 million. During a visit to the site of the Qatar port in August 2019, Director General of the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, Michael Luguje, announced that physical work was expected to begin on the Qatar Port and Harbour project by August 2020. He further stressed that the authority at the time was almost through with pre-feasibility activities. However, after several years of that announcement, the project has been left without any progress, with only project officers constructed. Speaking to the media after a tour of the facility, Member of Parliament for the area, Honorable Kwesi Kwame Jojoli Gakpe is unhappy with the style of work on the project. He further questions government on how long it will take to do a feasibility study on the project. The lawmaker also stressed that government is not committed in the establishment of the port, hence the stall in the progress of work on the facility.
The signpost and then 3 40-footer container right here, you are seeing. There is no port in Keta. And this is the issue we are talking about. And somebody is appointed as a director of port for Keta, drawing salary. And they have almost a staff strength of 33. I mean, this is unbelievable. So, to be simple and short, there is no port in Keta. When he asks them, they will continue to say feasibility studies. I don't know how long the feasibility study will be taking. So for me, there is no port in Keta. You can see evidence is here for you to see. And here we are. 2021 ended successfully. 2022 ended. We are in 2023. But I'm challenging everybody, including the government. These ports, the government is not interested in this port. They are just playing on the minds of people of Keta. Meaning they are not committed to establish the ports. Because if really they are committed, we should have been seeing. Last year, the Minister of Transport was here to cut sort for construction of the offices. Here we are. These are the 40-footer container you are seeing here as the offices. So when is the project going to take off? It will open up the whole place in terms of hospitality industry, in terms of livelihood of the people, in terms of the indigenous, because people, or if they are ships, I mean the youth will be empowered, and then there are certain skills that there will be transfer of skills to the people. So these are all benefits in beyond to the constituency.
Agriculture contributes to 54% of Ghana's GDP and accounts for over 40% of exporting earnings, while at the same time providing over 90% of the food needs of the country. The country's rapidly growing population exerts massive pressure on the food supply, making it necessary to have a vibrant agricultural sector. This explains why farmers has to meet their growing demand in the country, and if the farmers does not meet their demand, economic growth slows down. To some farmers, at Dodowa meeting their demands and making the country's agricultural growth depends on scaling of farm produce as well as participation and interest of the youth. According to the farmers, government has to put measures in place to tackle scaling because it has been one major factor contributing to the decline of agriculture in Ghana. They are also urging government to put measures in place to ease pressure in the agricultural sector, especially when it comes to pricing of the farm produce. A farmer, Isaac Tetteh, says government can make farming enjoyable when policies are being made to control pricing at the agricultural sector. He also wants government to provide scaling machine to scale the farm produce and also reduce overpricing of commodities in the market.
One thing that the government have to do for us, if you speak them people that will help the transformation will rather be demonizing you.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things the farmer can't do. There are some things that the farmer can do. The farmer does not have control over everything. It is the government that have control over many things in the country. So for standardization, for instance, it is the government that will say, oh, my people are suffering. If you get to Burkina, and if you get to Mali, most of these African countries, the policy concerning agri is different. It's not being fair to farmers in terms of pricing because right now you see 10 pieces.
Okay.
For one city, sometimes it go to 16 pieces for one city. And this market queen will sell it about 3 or 4, as you are saying, for 2 cities.
Yeah, sure.
Can the government help the farmer by standardizing it? They must do policy that will govern scaling.
Yes, scaling.
Because I alone cannot start it. If anyone tells you a single farmer in Ghana can change that, tell him or her, I'm Isaac, that person is a liar.
Sure. Sure.
If the government say a kilo of this, now we are to sell in kilos, nobody will go from it. Yeah. We all stick to that. Yeah.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
Good morning to you. Thank you very much for choosing the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live from Abelenkwe, the studios of Pan-African Television, and we are live on Pan-African Television. Don't forget, we're also live on Facebook on the Pan-African Television handles, Pan-African Television. We are live on YouTube on Pan-African Television. Just do a search for Pan-African Television. You can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on Facebook. Thank you very much once again for choosing us. We are live on Radio Gold 90.5. We are also live on several affiliate radio stations and of course one TV station across the country. I'll be sharing them with you as we go along in the show. My name is Sena Nombo. Thank you once again. This morning we are talking about an issue that started somewhere last week and has gained a lot more momentum this week. It is the matter of the report that has come to light, was submitted in March 2021, confirmed by the presidency that they received such a report. Just the presidency does not think that it deserves the attention it is getting. It was a report from the man who used to chair the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Professor Frimpong Boateng, raising serious issues with the fight against illegal mining and the involvement of people who have roles in government. There have been several press conferences and communications put out by several groups on this matter. The National Democratic Congress has a position on this matter. We've also heard from CDD, the Media Coalition on the fight against illegal mining that was from way back in 2017, have all been speaking. So we'll be discussing that report and the matters arising in our very first discussion. Then we'll move on to the nomination of a new Chief Justice. President Nana Dankwa-Akufo-Addo has settled on Justice Gertrude Otokunor to replace the departing Chief Justice that will leave very soon. Question is, what would that mean? We'll be talking about the choice of Justice Gertrude Otokunor. And then we'll take you to Sudan. Fighting is intensifying. In fact, in some cases, Sudan, the two warring parties, one a paramilitary group and the main army, they keep saying, we're calling for a truce. But somehow the fighting keeps intensifying. But Ghana has had to evacuate some citizens because of the intensity of the fighting in Sudan. Ghana is not the only country. We've seen the UK moving, US moving. Everybody's trying to evacuate their citizens from Sudan. So we'll be talking about the war in Sudan in our very last discussion. Joining me this morning to discuss these issues, Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jnr., who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Sitting right by him is Mr. Solomon Owusu, who is a member of the NPP's communication team, who is bold for Alan, and getting closer to me, Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor, who is a former Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress. He's been on this show for a long time. It's been quite a long time since we've been able to get him onto this show. And sitting right by me, for the first time, she's appearing as the Central Regional Communications Officer of the National Democratic Congress, Gabriella Tetteh. That's my panel for today. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Yeah. That's my panel for today. And of course, we'll jump right into it and start a discussion with the report on the fight against illegal mining and matters arising. I'll start with Doc, who I haven't seen for so long, Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Sena. Thanks for having me. It's been great seeing you. It appears that the economic tool that is being basically seen on all of us, you are becoming an exception. I think that it's been great seeing you. It's been a while, and you know we are in very critical times, and we don't have time to rest. So we've been busy moving around. The issue of galamsey and illegal mining is one that is not going to go off the tables for discussion for a very long time, because it is like the age-old practice of prostitution. You know, what we describe as galamsey and illegal mining is just by a prescription that as a nation we have offered to ourselves to describe, you know, mining, which does not follow some arranged rules and regulations by our laws. Indeed, the God-given minerals that, you know, are naturally occurring on our land, the Gold Coast, was given to us, I believe, for a reason. I mean, when God created the world, every nation, every community, every society was given some wealth, and I believe that that wealth is supposed to benefit the people who occur in those areas. So we were lucky we found gold in Ghana, and it is so sad. And so now anytime I talk about gold mining, I cringe and worry, particularly when you look at how our economy is performing. Ghana shouldn't be struggling. Ghana shouldn't be going through the kind of financial crisis that we are going through now in Ghana, because the gold is there, the reserves are there, but what has become the problem is how we are handling the mining of our gold. So we have what we call small scale mining, we have what we call artisanal mining, then we have described some as illegal mining, and we have described some as legal mining. Mostly what we have described as legal mining is what the multinationals do. The big companies, we sign contracts with them, take pittances, then they mine the gold and the profits, repatriate the profit, repatriate all their gains, and the people living in those communities continue to struggle. The nation continues to suffer. So we end up not getting anything at all from the gold that is being mined from our land. So the people will decide that, okay, if we are not really seeing any change in our community, this is our gold, so we must also benefit from the gold. And that is where I've had a problem with our system and our laws and how we have managed this process. I have made a suggestion, for example, that I don't see why people would have to go through several difficulties, pay huge amounts of money. Last time I was speaking to one small scale miner, and he was telling me that he pays close to about 700,000 Ghana cedi for a small scale license, and it takes about 1.5 years to get it approved. So if you are making the licensing regime difficult for your people, what happens? So you will see the case of Alistair come into the country because they are foreigners and they can manage some money laundering systems for the government. They can manage, you know, some corrupt activities for the government. They get their licenses within 1 month. They can get their licenses within 2 weeks. But the indigents, it will take them 1.5 years to get their license. So what most of them will do would be to resort to their illegal ways of mining, because they will not come for the licenses at all. But this great revelation by Professor Frimpong Boateng is a very interesting one. It's a very, very interesting one, because
it has given impetus to our claim that we have been making from the beginning, that this so-called fight against Galamsey has been a scam from the beginning. It has been a charade, total charade from the beginning. And I recall making a point when in 2017, Akufo-Addo said he was going to fight, this Galamsey thing, contrary to his claims during the campaign in 2016, when he was saying that he was going to protect the Galamseyers and they would do their work and all those things. I made the point that, look, this is a total scam to re-engineer the Galamsey program for party folks, so that he would use that to enrich his party people. And so when he brought in the ban on small-scale mining and said that they were going to do some, auditing and reviewing before they can reissue small-scale licenses and allow, it was a funny, program. And today, Professor Frimpong Boateng has, vividly uncovered and basically vindicated our position that, look, the whole arrangement was just to cook something for the party folks. If you look at this report, he said some 5,000, small-scale mining licenses were withheld. Then they had to audit about 5,000 of them, but they ended up auditing about 1,300 of them. So the 1,300 of them, after that, they have to give those 1,300, their licenses to go and operate. What simply they did was that they identified party people, constituency executives, youth organizers, chairmen, regional chairmen, who wanted to do mining, and they reallocated the concessions to them. So out of the 5,000 concessions, they gave 1,300 to their party people. And when you are giving those concessions to their party people, and they claim to be licensing them, and they have started mining in areas that they are not supposed to mine, reserves and all that, then you have the government claiming that they want to stop Galamsey, having the government itself perpetrate the Galamsey. And so now I dare say that, look, the Flagstaff House actually is a Galamsey site. It's actually a Galamsey site. In fact, the entire government is a Galamsey government. Look at the vivid revelation to the extent that a constituency youth organizer would mine into the house of the president in Chebi. And have you read the report very well? When they identified that, Frimpong Boateng himself, according to his report, moved in equipment to reclaim the land and grow they didn't arrest the gentleman. They didn't do anything to the gentleman. So they moved in equipment to reclaim the land. So what happens to the other villages? Those who are not presidents, those who are within, on subsistence level, growing crops on subsistence level, getting their cassava, their maize, their cocoa from their lands. And this illegal mining by MPP operatives have destroyed the land. Who is reclaiming the land for them? Who is growing the grass for them? Who is growing the trees for them? There is absolutely no effort towards reclamation. Now, Sena, let's even look at the program of the Interministerial Committee and the accounts of Professor Frimpong Boateng, for example. I read the report very carefully, and I was looking at where Professor Frimpong Boateng would talk about how to reclaim the areas that, those small-scale miners were mining, where they had allowed them to mine, the concessions that they had given them. And incidentally, I didn't find anywhere in the report that there was any program at all for reclamation. There's no program at all for reclamation. At all. So all these areas, even if people are conducting illegal mining, legal mining, small-scale artisanal mining, there is no program at all by this government to reclaim any land. At all. So you see, the whole program was defective from the start. Because you see, the whole thing about mining is that when you go into mining, you cannot go into mining and still have the trees standing. When you go into mining, the trees will fall. When you finish, you must level up and plant the trees. so that the trees can grow. But that is not there. So, Sena, this whole mining thing is a big scam. And you see, the scam has been tied into some new policies that they have brought in. And that is why I'm saying that the government itself and the Flagstaff House has been turned into a galamsey site. This new gold for oil program that this government is running. I have heard several analysts, economists, and finance people do their analysis. And I made the point with you the other time when we met that look, this whole thing is a scam. And it appears as if the government is not thinking. They are not thinking. Because you see, every finance person will tell you that one way of beefing your reserves, strengthening your economy, one key buffer for any country is your gold or any other mineral resource, if you have any. And gold still remains the most potent of currencies for any country. So if this government is very serious, what you will do with your small scale mining is that you will not reorganize it into a party, reward scheme for party people. You put in serious systems to allow for some level of liberalization, but with heavy monitoring. And I remember I've made this point time with that number, that as part of some of the proposals that we made in our 2020 manifesto, we were saying that look, all those who have concessions, all those small miners who are doing illegal mining, let's do, if you want, a census. As many miners are in the country, let's pick their records, let's get their details. Let's make the licensing procedure very easy for them so that anybody can get license. Now, what you will do with that easy procedure is that you would be able to capture every single miner, small scale miner, onto a database, onto the records. Now, when they have not taken the license, you cannot regulate them. And that's why the Mineral Commission is there. It's for regulation. So you regulate those who have taken the licenses so that you can track their activities. So when you have granted them the license, this would be a huge source of job opportunity for the unemployed youth. Because you have been able to bring in all these people, the kind of revenue that the Minerals Commission will be making will be huge. It will increase the liquidity of the commission and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And for that matter, you get the opportunity to employ a lot more young people, those from UMAT and so on and so forth. Put them on the field to monitor. Your concern is the procedure for monitoring. Are they using the right equipment? Are they using the right tools? Are they using the chamfans floating on the water bodies? Are they destroying the water bodies? It is when you put in strong monitoring mechanism that you would be able to identify who are conducting those illegal activities and put some charges on those illegal activities. How are you going to deal with it? So you have this, field monitors on the field. When they come and you are using chamfa, you are mining in an illegal way, you are using something that you are not supposed to use. There and there, you are charged. They give you a check, you pay the money to government. So that government, from these processes and the charges, the penal arrangements that you put in place, which may not necessarily be prison centers and all that, but will come with some financial cost, would help the government to build resources. Which resources will be used to reclaim the lands. When they started burning the excavators, Sena, I was shocked, and I know Uncle Kwesi and Kode, we have been shouting about why they are burning the excavators and all that. Why? You have gone to the site. You have seen that this is an illegal site. They are using excavators. You have arrested the excavator. What you do is not to gather the excavators and re-auction them. When you re-auction them, it will go back. What you do is not to burn the excavators on site. Because when you burn the excavators, you have burnt assets. You have wasted the assets. But you see, when government confiscate those assets, and government decides to run a comprehensive reclamation program, it is the same excavators that will be used. It is the same excavators that will be used. So if government has confiscated it, it has become a government property, and government decides that it's setting up a unit to do reclamation, and it is recruiting people to manage and run these excavators, sending them to the field to reclaim the land. Don't you think the government will get public good, positive outcome, good outcome, reward, save resources from all this? The last time when we had a flood, somewhere, was it in 2014 or 2013 at Circle, when because of the choked, other drains, we had that crisis, and the president's brother, Ibrahim Mahama, decided to save this nation by moving in the equipment onto that site to go and clear the silt. You saw what happened in this country. You remember? I am not even interested with the propaganda, the negative propaganda, the lies that the MPP peddled. But essentially, this is one single man who was able to move equipment into the drains to desilt it. These are equipment bought with money that are running and earning him money. And this could be a huge contract for somebody. But he was able to do that for the nation for free. So if you have arrested and confiscated all these excavators, Sena, and you decide to put them to use, you will not even be reclaiming lands alone. You will be saving the nation from flood. The perennial flood that we get every time. Are you aware that for the past 3 years or 4 years, this country, this government, particularly in Accra, have not done any major desilting program? Are you aware? Go and check the circle, the gutters. This year, the rains, when it starts coming in full droves, we would be in crisis. So you see, they are not thinking. The people are just interested in enriching themselves and their families. They are just interested in building, financial buffers for themselves offshore. And that is the revelation that we are getting from the Al Jazeera investigations. That is how they are managing the economy. How several tons of gold are smuggled out of this country. $40 million worth of gold smuggled at a go. So you can imagine if they are doing that every week. Sena, can you imagine what they are doing to this economy? And when those golds are smuggled, all the $40 million goes into somebody's account somewhere, then we cry about depletion of our foreign reserves. So now, right now we are running on virtually zero reserves, zero foreign reserves. And that is why it beats my imagination. If we can buy gold in Ghana, Sena, at the international market rate, because you don't set the gold prices. So you go to the market, you say PMMC should give you 20%. All the multinationals that are mining in Ghana should give you 20% of their gold. When you go, they will not give it to you for free. You are going to buy at the international rate. Okay. So because you are buying in Ghana, you are going to use cedis instead of the dollar to buy. Fine. You are getting the small scale miners to give you all their gold to buy. So now, when you buy the gold could be sold on the international market. And so now that will bring in foreign exchange. It is the foreign exchange that beats your international reserves, because for every nation you would have to have some level of comfort in terms of your foreign reserves, so that if you are an import dependent economy, most of the things that we do in this country, obviously we are an import dependent economy, you would depend on your reserves, you would depend on the dollar. It's not everything that you would use the gold to buy. So if you decide that you are going to use gold in exchange of oil, and you are going to harvest all the gold just in exchange of the oil, what it means is that you have forgone any possibility of bringing in foreign revenue, apart from your meager exports and your borrowing that you have been doing. And look, for the past 3 years, no money has come in. The reason why this government cannot run because if they don't get an IMF loan is that, Sena, if they don't get the IMF loan or package or program, they are not able to borrow foreign exchange from anywhere. And our exports are not enough. because we even import more than the exports. We are in deficit. You understand? Our trade is in deficit. So if you are not able to get any loan or an IMF program, you are not getting any foreign exchange. One way that you could get that was to export your gold. One way to get that is to streamline your mineral resources, because that's what the international market wants. If you have streamlined it very well, and you are not smuggling about a ton a week, and your miners are not smuggling the gold to neighboring countries, because with what they are doing, what has happened, and the small scale miners will tell you, is that look, no small scale miner sells their gold in the country. Most of them, they smuggle it to Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. Most of them are now dealing in Ivory Coast. You understand? It's because why? You are chasing them, you are not giving them the licenses, you are being selective in giving the licenses. If you are not MPP, you don't get a small scale license, you don't get a concession. And the revelations of Professor Frimpong Boateng is replete with the evidence. You understand? But even with those that they are selecting, they are not even supervising and regulating them well. They are not doing proper mining. They are killing the forest reserves. And so now you see this thing about Galamsey. If we don't look at it very well, it is not only a factor of the economy, but it has far-reaching implications on the very survival of humanity in Ghana. Our very survival in terms of existence. Because look, all these forests that they are destroying, apart from the fact that it is bringing food security issues, which is most important, which we have to look at, apart from the fact that it is creating huge environmental problems for us, apart from the fact that we are not able to, as it were, provide jobs for those in those rural areas and develop the local economy so that they survive, because most of the local economy survive on these arable lands, I mean growing crops and doing farming and agriculture and all that. Apart from all this, Sena, if we do not deal with this issue of Galamsey, we do not rein it in and put proper measures in place to, as it were, regulate who mines where and how those lands are reclaimed and brought back to sustainability, we are in crisis. It will get to a point in time, Sena, you and I, we cannot even stay outside and get some air to breathe. Because you see, when the last tree dies, the last man dies. It's the trees that provides the oxygen. They take your carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. So if we are destroying all that, then we are in trouble. Drive around Accra, you hardly see a tree. Drive around Accra, you hardly. We are not even planting trees on our streets. Even in our homes, we are not planting trees. All the earth is becoming concrete. Everybody's house, we are tiling everywhere. We are tiling everywhere, applying concrete everywhere. And that is serious. So, Sena, I think that we need a comprehensive approach to this Galamsey menace. We need a comprehensive approach to deal with these mining issues. And as I have said, you cannot afford not to mine, because the gold has been put there for you to mine. But it is how you mine and how you manage the process afterwards and how you reclaim the lands. So, Sena, I think that, look, there must be some inquiry into this, issues and revelations. People's names have been mentioned. Gabriella Tetteh has been mentioned. A few others have been mentioned. People who were leading, I heard Kwesi Pratt has also been mentioned. He has been intervening on behalf of some of the illegal miners. I think that there must be a comprehensive inquiry into this matter. And those who have perpetrated this fraud, this crime, should be dealt with. If you ask me if I have confidence in Akufo-Addo dealing with this matter, and if President Akufo-Addo himself, would by default take action on this matter, I doubt. So I think that this is the time that we must use our strength in Parliament, Sena, to to set up a ministerial, a parliamentary inquiry into this matter, so that those who would be found culpable would be dealt with. I am surprised that Professor Frimpong is bringing these things out now. He should have brought them out long ago.
But he's not the one who brought it.
I mean,
the report is
well, I mean, but he has been very, public about it, vocal about it, and I think that he was willing to speak. That is why. Otherwise, he wouldn't talk about it. And he has started this Galamsey discussions rather too late. He started the discussions when he responded to the missing excavators, comments and the things that he said, and drawing in the Flagstaff House and the response from the Flagstaff House and all those things. That is what generated all these discussions. Then it has been, iced by the investigative work by Al Jazeera. But I think that some aggressive inquiry must be done into this. And whilst at it, we should be looking at proper policies in managing our mining sector. Because look, elsewhere where there is total chaos, when you go to South Africa, it's one of the biggest mining countries. Most of the issues with xenophobia, attacks, killing, and the crime in South Africa is because of mining. There are other mining examples across the world. Why are we not learning from those mining examples? I think that leadership must wake up. Then whilst at it, these multinationals and the kind of contracts and arrangements that we have done with them, we should be more concerned, we should be more conscious and sensitive to our people, rather than the agreements that we sign on behalf of this country. And we'll be getting 10%, 15% through royalties and all that. Then these big multinationals take all the money outside the country. Because if you do not cure that, you cannot cure illegal mining.
Okay, Doc.
You understand?
Thank you, Doc. Thank you very much. Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor, setting the ball rolling for us. Let me just do about two comments that are being shared on Facebook. Then I'll go to Mr. Solomon Owusu. Dennis Yakwete says, to say that President Nana is a moving contradiction as far as good governance is concerned is an understatement. Indeed, the fact that Nana did not act on the said Professor Frimpong report is not even the problem, but to have the said report on his table for about 2 years and still go about professing absolute innocence before traditional authorities as far as the fight against Galamsey is concerned, and using state resources in that pretense is sad, to say the least. Perhaps more nauseating is for the presidency to describe the said report as hearsay and later refer to it to the CID for investigation. What a contradiction, which already predicts the outcome of the said investigation. But in all this, the moral society is 7 times as guilty for their hypocrisy, duplicity, and self-imposed slumber, which has brought Ghana to this point today. And we can only pray that God rises on his throne to put Ghana where it belongs before it is too late. Shalom. There's also Osman Yaro, who says, good morning. Pocket of illegal mining has taken place under every regime in this country. But what we are witnessing under Kufuor's presidency is unprecedented. God save this nation. There's Sampia Kombele who says people who need to add their voices for this insensitive government to listen are all quiet because everyone needs Galamsey money. So those are some of the messages you're sending on our Facebook feed. I'll be going through a lot more as we go along in the show. If you just join us, this is the Matter of World Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji, live from the studios of Pan-African Television, live on Pan-African Television on our social media handles. Of course, I see those of you watching us on YouTube and also on Facebook, and of course live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. Mr. Owusu. Good morning.
Let me also greet the team supporters of Alhaji and Alhaji who are working on the streets of Accra. When I was leaving the studios, they were numbering close to 100,000, and they still count. I believe that you'll have an accident-free walk. Make the point that when it comes to Alan, there is no competitor or contender in that kind of election. And also, 2022 elections, greetings your church, 12 years. So now this whole report that was written by the Chief of Staff and for that matter, President. If you read the entire report, it's a report that the man really meant well for the good people of this country. You know, the president had declared that he was ready to put his presidency on the line. And so when you read the entire 36-page report, the summary of it is a man that really wanted to actualize the president's vision. Ever since this report got leaked by whoever or whatever, the discussions has not been centered on the substance of the matter, but rather over partisanship, as usual, is dictating the pace. The facts still remain that as you speak, people are drinking unwholesome water in our various catchment areas. If you go to the Amansia Central, if you go to Wasa East, and most places in the western region, because of mining, people are really struggling. Ordinarily, we are not supposed to be discussing galamsey, because the issue is that galamsey is an illegality. So why must we give importance to illegality? The laws of the land must work. I don't think we negotiate with armed robbers to stop armed robbery. I don't think we negotiate with people who flout road regulations. It is an illegality, so you just have to apply the laws of the land to deal with such canker. But because of the people who are involved in this canker, we are having to, as it were, discuss an illegality. For me, it doesn't sit well with me. The report that was sent by Prof also tells us something that, be it the Europeans or our colonial masters who were ruling us, to date, we have not taken good care of the environment, because it is very interesting that by 1900 we had about 8.8 hectares of forest cover, and by 1950 that figure had been halved, and by 1999 we were doing about 1.5 million, and our deforestation rate, according to the same report, is at over 135,000 hectares per year, as against our forestation rate of 20,000. Clearly, we are fast-tracking our extinction from this earth, and that is how come we have to take it serious. Now, we need to look at the mandate of the IMCIM, that is the Interministerial Committee, and see whether or not Professor Boamah's committee was doing something right. I mean, they were mandated or tasked to strengthen the institutions that were directly related to either issuing permits or regulating the mining sector. Here we are talking about the Minerals Commission, especially, and to a large extent the Forestry Commission. Is it a case that they did something? The same report said, yes, they were able to strengthen that institution, and to the extent that most people that were involved in illegal mining were legalized through that process. I mean, we are talking about 1,350 illegal miners or galamseyers who became regularized under the scheme. And here I disagree with Peter when he says that there was no clear-cut policy to do with reclamation of the land. In fact, one of their mandates, the mandate of the IMCM, was to reclaim degraded land and also restore impacted water bodies. Mind you, their mandate also extended to water bodies. So I was taken aback when I heard him say there wasn't any clear-cut strategy to that effect. And see, again, we are discussing the report. Nowhere in the report that it is stated clearly that of the 1,350 people who were regularized were members of the NPP. In any case, if we are going to go on that tangent, what the report seeks to say is that when you go to the entire western region, those that are identified as kingpins in Galamsey are NDC constituency executives. It is in the report. Again, the report makes it clear that to the extent that in Wasa East, the MP there, who was a former deputy minister under the S1 administration, that's Isaac J. Mensa or whatever, I think it's Isaac J. is a known brand when it comes to galamsey. To the extent that when we go to the Supiri forest, single-handedly, according to Professor Fimo, a forest that was bequeathed unto us by our forebears, when he got to his turn as a good citizen of this country, together with his cronies, he has been able to destroy that forest. And he belongs to the National Democratic Congress Party. So if we are going to talk about a political party that has helped in destroying our environment, then our brothers from the NDC ought to know this fact. But I am not here to be doing the NDC and the NPP business. I just felt I need to straighten certain things so that we are on the same page. Whichever way you look at it, the report is a bombshell to the Flagstaff House or the Jubilee House. It is a bombshell because it was released somewhere on the 19th, or it was given to the presidency on the 19th of March 2021. It is interesting that we are having to discuss the report in 2023. Again, I have heard people, especially the response that came from the president, that most of the things that are contained in the report were hearsay and also grievances. I don't see it that way because in some cases, the good professor himself makes the point that some of the people mentioned in the report, he sat down with the president together with the personalities and accused them. You take St. John for instance, that he was in a meeting with the president and named St. John as the single most dangerous person to our forest. And for me, there cannot be any evidence apart from this. Because if St. John had any rebuttal, I'm sure he would have provided it right there and then. And so this is a professor who really meant well and wanted to stop the galamsey. Mind you, when we came into power, our brothers in the NDC had failed the fight. This whole business of galamsey fight started by you, was started by you, the media. You remember the media coalition in somewhere 2016, which became a topical issue during the 2016 elections. So when we won elections, it was natural for us to follow through that trajectory, and that was what culminated in the formation of this IMCIM. If the NDC had done or dealt with galamsey in total, do you think for a moment that there would have been the need for any new committee? Obviously, they didn't do anything about it. Obviously, the menace of Chinese people invading our forests was as a result of the fact that we pampered them between the periods of 2013 to 2016, for which reason they saw no need to vacate. Aftermath of matters arising, I've seen certain people, especially from my own party, beginning to bastardize Professor Frepo Boateng for writing such a piece or report to the president. For those that are doing that, I think the earlier we stopped it, the better. It is not going to inure to the benefit of the party in Ghana. Mind you, there was Ghana before NPP. In any case, we in the NPP should rather make the point that because we think about the country so well so much, it is one of our own who saw something that was not going right and decided to expose it. I mean, to be a good citizen of a country is not to sit on vital information and not to let the people know so that we can correct the problems we have in society. So, as we speak, Prof remains a member of the NPP, and we must pride ourselves that it is only our party that has the men and women who are able to look straight into the faces of leaders of the party, or whether we are in government, the president of the day, to tell them that, look, these are the things that are not going on well. If we decide to demonize him, I'm afraid it may not end well. Because some of us, putting 1 and 2 together, I can safely conclude that I have no doubt in my mind that the report that was written by the good professor is the absolute truth. It is the absolute truth because when you go to the western region, the lands are degraded. Galamsey has destroyed the land. Where I come from, it is cited in the report, the Kopro Forest in the Amansia Central. That is my village. The place is totally destruction is beyond measure. And my people are drinking unwholesome water. So who in his rightful thinking will come and convince me that what is contained, especially when in certain cases he has provided pictorial evidence, area views, to show the extent of the damage. Now, in terms of whether or not they achieved the purpose for which the IMC was, as I've already said, they did good things up to a certain stage. Look, they trained about 4,000 illegal miners, and the records at the School of Mines is there for everyone who cares to know to go and find out of modern ways of mining. Remember, it was work in progress. The moment people realized that hey, the IMCIM was very serious with their mandate, they started playing politics. And unfortunately, we had an opposition that was so bitter that in 2016 we used the issue of Galamsey as a campaign message to win power. So whether or not they were doing something that was to the benefit of the state, they would just do politicking with it. Started firing the good prof in the newspapers from all angles. And some of the people from our own party and beneficiaries of Galamsey were also fueling the pressure on Professor Frimpong Boati. And he's a human being. At a point, you have to give in. To the extent that when we lost several places in terms of votes in the mining areas in 2020, he was singled out as one of the people that was responsible for an electoral defeat in mining areas. But if you are listening to this report and the various concerns that he expressed, probably we will be seeing him as a hero, not a villain. Now, I have seen several back and forth with Professor Frimpong Boati, especially from those that have been mentioned. And I have also seen a press conference that was organized by the communication outfit of the National Democratic Congress. Hey, let the National Democratic Congress understand that they have to raise the bar. If you are going to show people's faces as Galamsey kingpins, emanating from a report that you see as sacrosanct. I believe in the report, and that is one of the problems I have with the presidency, because the report that was sitting by you was not a partisan report. About 3 institutions have been mentioned as people who are directly involved in Galamsey destroying the environment. You could talk about the military, you could talk about your government itself, like the presidency, and you could talk about the National Democratic Congress. So why don't you go ahead and deal with it as a national issue, but rather to allow the report to lie follow? So if you are showing people's faces and people doing Galamsey, I was expecting the National Democratic Congress to parade all the constituency executives in the western region and show their faces, including the MP for Wassa East, so that this is a party, we would know that this is a party whose presumptive leader, now you say we have somebody called presumptive leader, is saying he has learned from the past and is ready to change his ways. That yes, Ghanaians must believe us because we speak the truth. Our people in the western region are involved in it. I have heard Gabi Asare-Ochidakun sue Professor Frimpong Boati. I read the reliefs and it's laughable. I think he will do himself something good by withdrawing that suit immediately. Because you see, what people are failing to note is that Professor Frimpong Boateng enjoys a huge support base because of this issue in the party and in the country. A huge support base. In fact, if his credibility had dwindled in the past, by this report it has been restored. So Mr. Gabi Ochredako must know what time it is. Especially when there is also another audio from Owusu that is nailing him in that regard. I have also had seen or read the response from Kojo Ponkruma. I think it was needless to even double it. We must know that the report is detailed, it's comprehensive. And so, if you have anything to discuss with the prof, at best you can go to his house and discuss. If you decide to go on this rampage, your credibility may be destroyed by the good prof. His credibility was won outside politics, and some of us, he still remains our idols. It is not easy to achieve what he has achieved in life before politics. Some people that we are talking about achieve whatever they have today because of politics. I believe in people who have made their life outside of politics. But because the matter is in court, we will await for the outcome of it before we go into it. Now, I have heard calls, especially from our brothers from the NDC, even this morning from my brother Peter, that there should be a bipartisan committee to look into parliamentary committee inquiry into this matter. Ordinarily, I would have agreed with him, because Parliament is supposed to be a check on the executive, a check for all of us. But recent developments does not give me that comfort, does not give me the belief that the remedy to this problem lies with Parliament, especially from their own political party, the NDC. We have a hung Parliament, and so the country needs the NDC MPs more than ever to effect certain corrections. The last time there was a ministerial nominee vetting or whatever, voting, when they themselves had assured the country that some of the nominees were going to be rejected, they voted overwhelmingly for the nominees. Indeed, the nominees qualified, because under the Constitution, I was wondering how they were going to reject the nominees. But they had assured the country that they were never going to pass them. It turned out that they only came to lie to the good people of this country. And afterwards, matters that arose after this melee is what gives me no hope that there should be a parliamentary inquiry. Kweku Rickett Hagen goes on TV3 and states emphatically, without looking left or right, that some of our members of parliament took bribe in voting for the nominees. And I thought I was going to end there. I saw the General Secretary, Fifi Fiave Kote, boldly exhibit people that he perceives, members of parliament that he perceives, voted for the cause of the NDC, thereby exposing innocent MPs to the, as it were, the wrath of the teeming foot soldiers. Anita Disoso goes on there and says God should punish all the MPs that took bribe to vote for the nominees. Now the question is, Sena, you and I sitting here, how do we identify those that took bribe on the side of the NDC? How can we be sure
that if there is going to be any parliamentary inquiry, these MPs from the NDC side, that their own members from the NDC are accused of having taken bribes to vote for a certain cause, will not go and take bribes again. But Sena, let me tell you something. That position is further reinforced by the fact that the National Democratic Congress will be holding its primaries on the 13th of May 2023. Is that not the case? Yeah. It's as if it's by design, or like what they say, godfathers in political parties. Almost about 90% of their incumbent MPs have been contested. Look, last time I went to Afro, so when I was coming back, I drove through Kita to check 1 or 2. I couldn't believe my eyes. The incumbent MP there is having 5 contestants contesting that seat. He has used all his money to be paying people's school fees, funerals, weddings, and so on and so forth. So now he is financially incapacitated. People are going to save their money. They are going to remove him from there. Do you believe for a moment that in the event that he loses his seat, he will go to parliament and vote for anything NDC? So I don't believe in this parliamentary inquiry. Indeed, when the NPP itself wanted to do a surgical operation, when we wanted to remove the finance minister, because in our view he was not performing, and I still stand by that position that he has no business being at post together with the governor of Bank of Ghana, it took the NDC as a political party to make sure that Ken of Oriata still remained at post. How did they do so? They forced onto us a committee to listen to a censorship motion. Go and look at the issues that were under trial during the censorship motion. That the man has illegally transferred money when you have no evidence to that effect. So in the final analysis, he had to be left off the hook. And that is why Ghanaians are so much disappointed in the NDC. And that is why the victory of Alan Chemanti in 2024 will be so emphatic. Because I have said that the 2024 elections is not going to be too much about NDC, MPP. But rather, Ghanaians are going to look at personalities, the character, the credibility, and the competence of people who are going to vie for the presidency. So, to further buttress this point, the fellow MP for which is his constituency?
I think that should be Southern. Yeah.
Southern.
Yeah, Southern.
Knowing that the party or Ghanaians do not have interest or believe in the members of parliament, he is suggesting a shrag probe, and to give effect or meaning to his position, he has petitioned shrag. I thought as a member of parliament, he would rely on parliament. But now he's running away from there because Ghanaians are losing faith in our parliamentary system because of certain decisions that have taken place. Going forward, Sena, the issue of Galamsey is a serious one. When Erasmus Asaredonko did his expose on Galamsey,
that should be Erastus.
Erastus, eh?
Yeah.
In the video, I'm sure you saw the military protecting Galamsey sites. Have you heard from the military high command whether or not people have been relieved of their positions? Whoever would think that Galamsey is for the poor man who will be living in a different world. To acquire the land demands money. Excavator is not like tomato we buy in our markets. The chemicals is very expensive. To even sell it, you must be somebody who is well grounded in the system. So it is a business for people who are in authority. Those people you see at the various sites are just there to actualize their dreams. And that is how come something that is supposed to be an illegality we are now discussing that there has to be parliamentary probe. They are now call on all our robbers in this country who have been imprisoned to petition Parliament to have a second look. Because they also committed an illegality that led them to prisons. Our chiefs, like Otokunor said, during one of the programs, all of them know those who are doing it. Look, if today you should go to Owusu or Apokero or Jakobu, get to the station, ask the taxi drivers over there, who are those doing galamsey here? They will mention all the names. They will not even leave one person out. So why are we doing this to ourselves? Now, we have given something we call community mining. That is what is even killing the whole thing. You see, we must look at this from a nationalistic point of view. I have told you my village is affected. Growing up, I saw forest. I didn't see, even those days that we didn't have PhDs, a lot of people with PhDs. Those that had never been to school, they saw the need to protect the environment. They got to attend. My village now, they are striving to get potable water. If we are going to be truthful to ourselves, if we are going to be truthful to ourselves, if we are going to respect authority, because the report that we are talking about clearly gives out the president that the people in authority do not respect you. How can the president place a ban on mining in the forest, and just after that, you have a whole Minister of Lands and Natural Resources giving the entire forest cover to be mined? It means people do not respect the president. And that is what brings to mind those that were calling the minister. And that is why I say, I totally believe that the good prof wrote the truth and nothing but the truth. And I would entreat my brother from the NDC that if they are going to go on that tangent, it is never going to happen, because the report indicts them more than any other political party. The last about you could mention only about 7 or 8 names. Is that the case? Do you know the number of constituencies in the Western region? Do you know the number of executives there? If you are going to combine, we are talking about close to 200 NDC galamseyers in the Western region.
I don't think you're being... I don't think that's what exactly the report says.
So the report, very clear, and I believe we would respect the good prof and see him as a national asset. I'll end my submission.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Also, on the basis of what you've said, this is established miners who are members or sympathizers of the NDC. I'll read that portion.
Report?
From the report. Said it is well known in the small-scale mining circles that NDC members and sympathizers were well established in small-scale mining, especially in the Western region. They acquired several concessions in mineral-rich areas during the long periods of NDC reign. They had money and other resources to not only sponsor NDC candidates, but also support independent candidates in the supposedly strongholds of the MPP. This is what happened in the, I think, Evaluagira and Takwa constituency. And then you talk about the MP in the Wasa East district, a former NDC deputy minister who is also MP for Wasa East constituency has been actively mining in the Subri forest for years. When MPP party officials complained and the army component of Operation Vanguard was withdrawn almost 2 years to the 2020 elections, the component of Operation Vanguard was withdrawn. Okay, the NDC was given an advantage in terms of access to resources from mining. This is because there are former NDC people. There are far more NDC people engaged in illegal mining than MPP members in the region.
So clearly, I told you that.
No, because you said constituency executives. That's why I was.
You see, Sena, may I live in the mining area before? Unless you want to play the ostrich.
No, I have not.
So you just confirm that there are far more NDC members in the Western region, so you are even making the matter worse. Let's go and take the last election, how many votes the NDC got in the Western region, and begin to publish all of them their faces, as they did with their communication, by the communication outfit, by showing the faces of the supposed galamsey campaigns.
Well, this is Kumen Sapela who says I should tell you that Dr. Boamah has taken the lead for MPP flag bearer race.
Which of them?
Well, Kodadada. That's what he adds. Let me do a few messages. Other messages I'm getting, comments I'm getting. This is Prince Henry Koforidua, who says the mere fact that the presidency led by Nana Akufo-Addo sat on Professor Frimpong Boaten's Galamsey report shows clearly that the NPP government led by Nana Addo is not willing and ready to fight Galamsey. Jubilee House has made Galamsey a Champions League for the NPP folks, where the best players win the best Galamsey concessions. This is not what we voted for, and in a serious country, Nana Addo should have resigned after putting his presidency on the line. Party Yansi Kampa, when the wicked rule, the people suffer. Ghanaians must come together to end this Galamsey and corruption Kanka by voting out the NPP and voting for the NDC led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama come to December 7, 2024. That's from Prince Henry in Koforidua, who sent that one. There's Koblavi in Pokwase Benghazi, who says, if John Mahama is saying cocoa borders, okay, he's talking about cocoa board. There's Nana PSC Oseanto, who says, by Solo's analysis, a teacher scoring 20% of exam result is better than the one who scored 60% results. Secondly, he's claiming political maturity for one of their own being bold to expose the Jubilee House. Is he talking about Kevin Taylor, who leaked it, or the chief of staff who shielded it for over 2 years? That's Nana PSC Anto. There's also Kokumo Linanegbe, who says, and I'm not more than curious that the complaints and reports that the NPP's very own Professor Frimpong Boaten, as a minister, had personally made to President Akufo-Addo, the president failed to act on same. Also, for the records, it is turning out that President Akufo-Addo has more than one property in Chebi, and the fact that the presidential press corps wasn't taken to all his properties in checking the veracity or otherwise of the Chebi Galamsey issue. Lest we forget that President Akufo-Addo has publicly stated that Professor Frimpong Boaten is a man of integrity. There's also, okay, I think this is another matter. This is Commercial Ngava, who says, good morning. Solomon Owusu is deliberately misrepresenting the call for bipartisan inquiry into Frimpong Boaten's report with appointments committee. He is currently using your platform to campaign for Alan Chamanti and the NPP. Ghanaians are not dumb or blind. Their minds have been made up long ago, and his propaganda will not change them. The Seidu is also joining Sena. The report talks about small-scale mining, which is legal. Tells Solo to stop the propaganda. The last sentence is just to create a sense of balance, though unfairly. There's also Abdul Kadir Katariga, who says, I'm doing the monitoring live from Tamale. I think that whether it is true or not, we know that this super incompetent lawless president who promised to protect the public purse today has nothing better to offer the good people of the country. There's is it Foley Asyongbo, who says, in Mahama's region, our religious leaders use the pulpit to chastise him. In Akufo-Addo's region, these hypocrites went to the Galamsey pits to offer prayers to God. When Professor Frimpong Boaten's report is out, these pastors run into their washrooms. When Al Jazeera expose is out, pastors run into the bush to familiarize with animals. Interesting. There is also Sape Agbo, who says, if Solomon had listened carefully and understood the succinct presentation by Commodore Otokunor, he would have appreciated the fact that indeed the Professor Frimpong Boaten committee had no clear-cut directive. If really and truly part of their terms of reference was land reclamation, why would they burn the 6 excavators rather than utilizing these 6 equipments in the reclamation of the contaminated land? Enough of the propaganda, he says. There's John, Abeduni Robert, who says, Solomon, all that you're saying is not true. You only use to discredit Mahama for power. But today, Ghanaians have found the whole truth, and MPP have nothing to say, only defending blindly, having nothing to offer to Ghanaians. Sape Agbo makes a return, says Solo should stop the usual MPP attempt at equalization and propaganda and accept that his president and party have no political will to solve the canker of Galamsey. His president had the report since 2021, yet he sat on the report, traveled to the Galamsey prospecting areas to admonish the traditional rulers for not doing enough to arrest the canker of Galamsey. Thanks to Kevin Taylor's release, now the entire country have come to acknowledge the deceit of the president. Rosemary Nylander says, again, Solo is trying to blame the opposition. Does he think Ghanaians are stupid? You can fool some of the people some of the time, but never all the people all the time. Richard Allah says, why anytime MP gains the opportunity to rule the country, they always misuse our resources. Some of us have not forgotten what D. Kufuor used 1.4 million for gold medals to reward himself. Seta Bochi says, so without mentioning NDC, you don't have anything up your sleeves. That is Set Abochi. Says, it's high time Alan rethinks. Okay, I see. Samuel Abayevu says, there's several messages coming in. I'll go through a lot more as we go along in the show. In fact, when Gabriella is done, I'll go to our WhatsApp message line and read some of the messages you're sending to us on our very first discussion on the issue of the reports on the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. Gabriella?
Let me say a good morning to my co-panelists and good morning to our viewers as well and listeners across the country, most especially my communication officers who are doing the watching. So this is a very interesting topic for discussion. I mean, Galamsey always comes with a lot of bashing for whichever government is in power, and it appears that for the NPP in particular, they've had more than their fair share because of their attitude of their approach of a do-nothing strategy regarding Galamsey, except run PR. I'll start my submission from where Solo left off. Solo made mention of the person who authored the report as being a great man, and that speaks to the credibility of the gentleman who authored this report, Professor Frimpong Boateng. An astute statesman by all standards. I think that he has served this country very well, and whether in his capacity as a medical professional or even as a minister. When he was Minister of Environment, we all took an interest in what he was assigned to, because we felt like for a medical doctor going into environment and sciences and whether he could fit in properly there. But I think that now that the dust has settled on his stewardship, we've now come to understand why the choice for Frimpong Boateng. And that's because Frimpong Boateng himself and his family were miners. The government strategy coming into office 2017 was to ensure that they had a plan to take control of Ghana's resources. And I'll tell you, when you read the Ejapadia report, which is the blueprint of their governance from the Achim side, this is what it says on mining. It says, our mining, as well as oil and gas strategies, constitutes a major plank of the blueprint for controlling the extraction of natural resources which God has generously bestowed on Ghana, particularly the Achim land. Growing environmental factors are rendering risky our use of illegal small-scale mining, Galamsey, as a source of financing our political objectives. This is telling you that they were already in it. This statement they've made. Let me repeat it. Growing environmental factors are rendering risky our use of illegal small-scale mining Galamsey as a source of financing our political objectives. There is therefore the need to roll out a more rigorous legal means of controlling significant stake in the legal gold value chain. To this end, a cursory look at the approved concessions should be looked at by Asante Bedieto, who is to lead the process to take over these concessions detailed below and consolidate them into the extended Ejapa LLC, incorporated in Jesse. There was a whole systematic machinery put in place by this government prior to coming into office on how the entire gold value chain could be in their possession. We're not even going to oil and gas on gold. This report indicates that they were using illegal mining to fund their political campaigns and activities. It's a confession. This report also indicates that as part of this strategy, they had the Galamsey, all right, they had a plan to, if you remember what was coming out with the Japa, taking control of our royalties into an LLC. If I was to continue reading this document to you, there's even a part where they mentioned that that's a Japa LLC. How they were also going to make money out of that Japa LLC. If you recall, just this year alone, we've had this gold for oil program, which they've also brought into place. A machinery that is to buy the gold from them, their illegal miners. use it to buy oil to serve the people of Ghana. In exchange, they get profits on the gold they have sold and the oil they have sold, and they make more wealth at the expense of the ordinary, already impoverished Ghanaian. What Paul Manso has done, or whether it was Kevin Taylor who leaked this document, what these two gentlemen have done, the author and the leaker, have done, is to show us the evidence that we've always known as a fact, that this government was never serious about the fight against Galamsey, because they were themselves partakers of the Galamsey. What Paul Boateng has done is to show us that, one, coming into force of Akufo-Addo's administration, when he told us on his campaign trail that Yetisikaso and so come the we took it literally to mean that Ghana was a wealthy nation. What we were failing to recognize was the Sika was gold. Failure of Akufo-Addo's government to provide employment to the teeming youth of this country has compelled all these young people to march into gold mining areas and engage in their own artisanal activities in order to make ends meet. Failure of Akufo-Addo's government to come up with a pragmatic solution to develop this country from the northern side of Ghana to the southern side of Ghana has made people so impoverished, so poor, that right now, because everybody sees that gold is now the new oil, everybody is just marching there, and it's become this whole scramble for Ghana's wealth, as if tomorrow will never come to this country. And in its wake, we are living destruction of ecosystems, destruction of living organisms. Nana Akufo-Addo, according to this report, in 2018, Sir John, and what's his name, the Minister for Lands and Forestry, took a decision to allocate forest reserves, of which Akufo-Addo is mandated to protect. This minister and this chief executive issued licenses to people to enter these forests to go and mine. When you go into forest to mine, do you dig wells in the forest and sink holes to get the mine, or you destroy the vegetation cover to get the mine, in order to mine? So automatically, Akufo-Addo sat down and watched these people take a decision to go out and just destroy our forest reserves, which have been held in trust for generations before Akufo-Addo came into office. Sena, this same Akufo-Addo, in 2019, he, presiding over cabinet, instructed this chief executive and this Minister of Lands and Forestry to go back and take back 47 licenses they had given to people to go into these forests. This minister and his chief executive did nothing. And Akufo-Addo sat there and equally did nothing. It means that Akufo-Addo's cabinet can spew all the grammar they want. They can write all the minutes they want. They can give all the directives they want. His appointees have the power to do whatever it is they also want. Are you therefore surprised that today this country is in the mess that it is in? Because everybody gets up and just do exactly what it is that they want to do without any consequences to their actions. According to this report, it says that there were lapses in Minerals Commission and Forestry Commission's activities. This report indicates that there was massive corruption in these two agencies. If you recall, when Sir John died and his will also leaked, the man's key assets, his houses, his cars, his guns, appear to have all been acquired when Akufo-Addo came into office 2017. Aside that fact that he was able to amass his wealth in this period, he also had the effrontery to equally give to himself and to will to his children reserves and Ramsey sites. and Akufo-Addo and his government have not been able to tell us whether they've been able to retrieve those lands back to this country. The strategy for the NPP, Solo and his Akufo-Addo, Boamah and their stocks, when they were coming into office, was just to come and pilfer, ravage, rape, destroy this country. And that is the only thing they've been successful at doing since Akufo-Addo became president. If today I ask you a question, Sena, 6 years into Akufo-Addo's administration, tell me, what is Akufo-Addo's legacy? Can you point to one single thing for me? It tells you the failings and the failure of this administration. And yet, their communicators still mount a defense. Oh, we are doing something. Doing something where? According to this report, it says that there are government appointees and party people involved in Galamsey. Let me confess something to you. My communication officer, some of them are watching, so do you know this? When I became communication officer, I was looking for what other thing I could do to be able to make some money to fund my office. And I went to the northern part of Central Region to also go and look at mining. The licenses that I went to follow were tracing to Jubilee House. And I said, I can't go and operate with these licenses. How can a party regional executive, I'm going into mining and I'm going to take licenses from people who are listening at Jubilee House? It can't work. Eventually, I gave up that dream. But when I went to that part of my region and I saw the destruction to vegetation, to land, when I was driving from Chufreti Makwa from Himanua Densha to Chufreti Makwa, and I saw those beautiful palm fields all lined up, plantations. Sena is one of the most beautiful scenes to behold in the Central Region. Then you travel beyond that, and then you see lands which could equally have been used to propagate palm plantations are now lined like puddles of lakes with dirty water. I drove through around Pra. It's a sorry state. I drove on another trip. I went through Asen to Obuasi, that's into Ashanti region, to get to northern part of Central Region, because the road from Chufreti Makwa Upper Densha is bad. So you have to go around the other side of Central Region. And I saw tunnel. And I felt sadness in my heart as a Ghanaian. I'm somebody who loves to be in nature. When you come to my house, it's like a jungle. My neighbors fight me all the time. But I still win because I give them free oxygen. But when I saw what we are doing to the land, I felt saddened in my spirit. And I felt saddened in my heart. And I asked myself, how could such a fine man as Akufo-Addo in opposition become this in a presidency? I'm of no consequential importance. But if I could advise Akufo-Addo, I would tell him to just take 24 hours and step away from all the voices that speak to him. He should just move alone by himself. And remember that it was his face that was on the ballot paper that people gave the power and the mandate to. And going out of office 2024, Akufo-Addo will leave the presidency of this nation as a president who did not only come to waste our time, but came to see the destruction of our land. Our economy is going, the land is going, people's health are being deteriorated, livelihoods are being destroyed. I sit and ask myself, if Akufo-Addo was a flag bearer in my party and I had to campaign for him, will I even have the confidence to go approach people and tell people, vote for Akufo-Addo and Boamah? What am I going to sell? How can I sell these people as leaders when they have just come to impoverish people, destroy livelihoods, destroy the economy, and now they are destroying this nation? Were we not here? In fact, I haven't seen that paper here. But last Tuesday when I came, there was that famous paper of a policeman who was kneeling in front of Galamseyers. when the voice, the guy had to come and speak in the public domain about that whole scene and what actually transpired, he said that he was an informant to Ghana Police Service, and that it is he who alerts the police where the galamseyers are. When they go, they don't even go and arrest them. They go and collect their share of the money. When you read this report, it confirms what we saw happen in that leaked video, in that trending video. Franpa Marshall also mentions it, that when the military were withdrawn and the police were put in charge, I feel crowd Yamutu. Everybody was there to collect their share of the money and not to fight the galamsey. So it has been nothing but institutional failures, lack of people taking responsibility, lack of people doing the actual things that they are supposed to do, and Akufo-Addo, who has been given the mandate. That is what pains me about Akufo-Addo, who has been given the mandate. Apart from speaking English, that we have to give him to him, because that's the only thing he's good at, public speaking. Apart from that, I don't see anything else. Akufo-Addo cannot even give proper seriousness to the fight against galamsey, because he has no solution to it. They are the creators of this mess. They saw the challenges NDC was facing when we were in office, and saw that Ghana is a castle, and so I come to you, and we are being free for all. And now we've lost control of it. If you tell me that we should go and do a probe, tell me, when I fetch water in Cape Coast, in a white bucket, and I let it settle, and I see that yellow dust settling at the bottom, will your probe stop me seeing that thing in the water I'm going to use to bath? Will your probe change the turbidity of pra and tano or ankobra? And you know what I fear the most about galamsey? Right now, it is not a distraction to the land, though. It is the day that we'll get a report that tells us that our cocoa export is banned because they've now found mercury and cyanide in our beans. So the solution is to cut all those trees down, and we should start a new replanting program.
We even have some of the trees.
What will happen to the economy of this country?
No.
When we depend so much on cocoa for export, and when you are banned, you are banned. The Chinese that you have brought here to come and do the mining for you because they do it cheap, and then they'll still find the market in China and Dubai, you make your money. But how can you live in a country when your country's cocoa is banned and the economy is now in total ruins because we can no longer export cocoa? Otokunor just said something. When you said that we even have the cocoa, it triggered something. Yeah. We were in this country last year. One journalist in Kumasi put a microphone in front of a vice chairman of a LPP party. And you know what he said? They were talking about galamsey. The guy was boasting about how they take over the farms. They said if they approach you, if they come and do their recce, and they find that you have deposits, and they approach you to buy your land, and you refuse, they will divert the river into your farm. They give you 48 hours. The whole farm is now flooded. Your trees, now being overwatered, are going to rot and die. So you have no choice than to play ball with them and to give off your farm. They know how to get the water out of your farms again and now mine for the gold. So the lands are going, farms are being destroyed, livelihoods are being destroyed, ecological systems are being destroyed. And one more thing about this mining. You see, that report I read, there is a whole, they've licensed over 350 small-scale miners because they fear that all that was going on with this was so-called thing about the environmental risk to their businesses. They now licensed over 350. Many of them were dispatched into Etiwa forest. And anytime I have to talk about Etiwa, I sound a warning to the people of Greater Accra. The water source that feeds Weja is under Etiwa. There's an aquifer under Etiwa. Oh, that's why it's always raining on that forest. It collects rainwater, it stores it underground, it sends it trail through the river into your Weja Lake. The day Etiwa changes color, Greater Accra, 4 million citizens living here. Remember the time we were doing yellow gallons, 4 gallons? And you saw how much hardship we were going through just to get water in Greater Accra. Imagine if they succeed in finally destroying Etiwa, and that leaked gold and deposit now goes into the water table. It will find its way into Weja, Greater Accra. What will you drink? 5 million people. What will we drink? Now, our water bills are so expensive because Ghana Water is saying that it costs 10 times to treat water. Every single quarter, they want the opportunity to increase water bill. Aside the fact that Akufo-Addo is killing us with inflation and mismanagement of the currency and debt, which Otokunor mentioned something earlier, that even our gold reserve as a country, without the gold we are producing, our reserves right now is what? 3 weeks import cover.
No, now it's virtually zero.
That's what we have.
That cannot be true.
It's 3 weeks. No, that's what the report said.
I saw a report.
By the end of the year,
it will be 3 weeks.
And we are April.
No.
So by the end of the year,
it's been 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks for the past 2 months.
It cannot be.
It's been 3 weeks. Go and check. Check the Monetary Policy Committee report.
It is 3 weeks.
That
should tell you.
It cannot be.
That should tell you how dire we are as a country. So when Akufo-Addo starts his public speaking, which is great, those who like to hear public speakers speak, which is great. At the end of the day, for those of us when we reach into our pockets and we go back to our region and we see the distraction in our region and the high cost of living to us and how you are deliberately, systematically to enrich yourself because of your incompetence, your selfish, seeking, greedy behavior, Ghana finds itself where it is today. I can only weep for the next 2 years because we now have to keep enjoying him. I've heard people say he should resign. This is the result. Then when you bring the one who came and said, whatever he said is 180 degrees, and they call Bawalaya, then that one, the so we are better off with the John and Numina, Yanko Bebiano. 2024 will come. Let's just pray for long life. And those Ghanaians who voted for NPP and are disappointed and now don't want to vote at all, please don't let the uselessness of a political party change your voting. Use your mind, use your brain. It's time for you to vote for a change. Vote for NDC in 2024. Don't sit on the fence, because the battle for 2024 is not one of I voted, I'm disappointed, so I won't vote again. All leaders are different. Nanado's leadership has been nothing but sankwas. We all agree, but there is still hope. So let's wait on hope. I'm done.
Thank you. I'm wondering what sankwas mean. This is an Efing Tamale Central who says, if you have your family and friends in the kitchen, you'll be 100% sure that you get food to eat anytime, any day, even if the food is scarce. He is so sure that the judgment will be in his favor no matter what. He sent that from Tamale Central. This one is also watching us from Tamale. He says, I'm watching you live from Tamale. Keep up the good work. Please tell Gabriella. Okay. I'll pass on the information. There's Echo in Takwa who says, all media outfits should tighten their belts in fighting this Akufo-Addo government in turning us back as slaves to Chinese. We live in our own and treated by Chinese employers as 1800 slaves in Europe. You country broke or no broke, we all day inside. I could send that from Takwa. There's also Musa. Okay, I think he's even deleted the message that he sent. This one says, I'm Doji. This MPP government have made it difficult for families to live a happy life. That's all he sent. There's this one from, who says, Akufo-Addo is just a parrot. If not, he would not have plagiarized a speech and copy word to word when he was writing just a condolence message. Okay. And this one says, I should tell Solomon that Alan is a kingpin of the useless Akufo-Addo government. The more messages coming through the WhatsApp line. This is Kakwano. Says, I plead on you to draw Solo's attention to the fact that he is speaking to intelligent and independent minds, knowing very well he's speaking to non-credulous persons, and could allow him to speak. Okay, I hear you, Kakwano. This one says, Sena, good morning, and to my beautiful communication officer Gabriella Tetteh for her good work she is doing. Noah Kwesi sent that from Kaswa of Anko joining us. Some more messages. Says the speaker, okay, all that we are doing as a nation, are we sure we have money to import everything that we need as a country when we are destroying our vegetation? It's like we're not thinking as a nation. Pastor, the chief and the pastor should think. Okay, this one says, hi Pan-African TV, good morning to you too. Joe Frank from Afenya, good morning, and I equal to you all. Alhaji and Alhaji, okay, I hear you. Thank you very much for joining us. This one also says, good morning, Sena. Last week I said Ghana land is sinking so fast. One of the agents is Galamsey. Is anyone able to tell the root cause of Galamsey? Is it Gabi Odi should go ahead and sue Dr. Frimpong Boateng and let Ghanaians wait to see what the law says? I can bet you Gabi will face the law that he practiced, and his accounts will be empty to pay for wasting the time of the court. Today, your MPP panel member is mixing the issues. Please tell him to stay focused. Enjoy the day. That's Lawrence sending us that message. Don't forget, this is the matter of all talk shows. Alhaji and Alhaji. We're discussing the report, the famous Galamsey report. Mr. Pratt.
Well, a huge disaster is unfolding before our very eyes. I've seen bridges constructed with the taxpayers' money just caving because Galamseyers have dug under the bridges. I've seen roads collapse. I've seen videos of people falling into pits and dying. I've seen all kinds of images while this unfolding complete, total disaster. The reports we're hearing are that today, in some of the mining areas, babies are being born deformed. And I've seen pictures of babies who have been born without noses, without ears, and so on. I've had reports of rivers today which have no fishes in them at all. The fishes in the rivers have been killed. And I've seen water completely polluted. I've seen water which looks like coffee, and so on. This is the calamity that is unfolding before our eyes. And I must say that it is the height of irresponsibility in the face of this monumental disaster for us to be talking about there are more NDC people engaged in Galamsey than NPP people, or vice versa. It is the height of irresponsibility for us to use this unfolding calamity as a means of canvassing for votes. This is a calamity which is destroying Ghana and its people. There's a calamity which is destroying everything before our eyes, destroying biodiversity. Look, there's a calamity which is even destroying our capacity to fight diseases. all these very, very rare herbal plants and so on, they're all getting extinguished and so on. And this is the attitude that we have. Sena, we have been electing people into government. When we elect people into government, what we actually do is that we give them the powers that all of us have. Like Captain Planet, we combine our powers and give it to the elected officials to solve the problems that confront us. Currently, we have elected a government headed by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Boamah. We have given them the responsibility to halt this calamity, to do something about it. If they are not doing something about it, if the situation is getting worse, it's an abuse of our sovereignty, it's an abuse of the power that we gave them. That is the issue. Simple and straightforward. This report, which has now become a subject of public discussion, actually came into being or was presented to the Flagstaff House 26 months ago. This report was presented to the Flagstaff House 26 months ago. So just put on the shelves. Nothing happened. It wasn't discussed at cabinet. The security services were not giving the report to either authenticate or dismiss. Such a report was received 26 months ago and nothing happened. Now, we would have been asking, how come? Why is it that this report was not acted upon 26 months ago? We have the answer already. The presidency has actually issued a statement telling us why this report was not actioned 26 months ago, for 26 months. And what did the presidency say? One, that the report did not have a covering letter. Two, that the report was not addressed directly to the president. Three, that the report was not addressed to the secretary to the cabinet. Hey! These are the official reasons given by the Flagstaff House, not me. Why this report laid in the Flagstaff House for 26 months without action. Nobody has disputed the fact that this report was put directly into the hands of the chief of staff. They did not act upon it because there was no letter. They did not act on it because the report came without a covering letter. They did not act upon it because the report was not addressed to Nana Asante Bediatu. What a government. What an excuse. Master, any government worth its salt. You see these videos that fly on social media, do they have covering letters? All these videos, are the videos addressed to Nana Asante Bediatu? That government take these videos and leads and investigate when the matters concern them. Why? Only 3 days ago, government issued a lengthy statement about the Al Jazeera report, which made allegations against the president. the Al Jazeera report came with covering letters. It was on the letterhead. The Al Jazeera report was addressed to the president. It was addressed to the secretary to the cabinet. What rubbish! You know, and they put out these statements and justifications, and they expect us to accept them. First of all, it's an indication that they have no respect for us. As a matter of fact, they think that our heads are full of cotton wool. They do not think that our heads contain brain matter. Because if they thought that our heads had brain matter, would they be making such excuses? 26 months. I cannot believe it. But you see, Sena, it gets worse. Professor Kwesi Pratt Jnr grants an interview to some media house. And in that interview, he makes reference to some Galamsey operatives working from the Flagstaff House. Just that. Of course, that media interview did not have a covering letter. That media interview was not addressed to the secretary to the cabinet and so on. But the president quickly directs that the Criminal Investigations Department of the Police Service should investigate the matter. Are you seeing the difference in the reactions? The president quickly directs that, look, Criminal Investigations Department, investigate the matter. That investigation is still pending. The public is made aware of this 37-page report with names, with references, and so on. 37-page report. Then the Flagstaff House reacts again. And the Flagstaff House says it's all nonsense. What is contained in the 37-page report is all nonsense. It's just an expression of personal grievances and something. What is that? Expression of personal grievances and so on. Hot air. What can be so prejudicial to the investigations ordered by the president himself? Which police officer in our part of the world, after this declaration from the presidency, can have the courage to authenticate what is contained in this 37-page report? So, as far as I'm concerned, that report is dead. Completely dead. That report, which is yet to be altered by the Criminal Investigations Department, is dead. It has already been so heavily prejudiced that we can't do anything with that report. Indeed, that report may never surface. Now, following from this, various calls have been made. I've heard calls I've heard people saying that, look, the Criminal Investigations Department should speed up its work. And they still have confidence in the Criminal Investigations Department because they believe that the Inspector General of Police is an extraordinary man. I'm sure you've all heard that. So the police can still carry on the investigations. I would recommend very seriously that those who think that find the time and listen to the wise words of Commissioner of Police Nathaniel Kofi Boakye. When he explains how the police works, when he explains how the Constitution has become an impediment in the effectiveness of the police in carrying out investigations, I would advise them also to listen to the wise words of a gentleman called A.C.P. Albozo. I hope I'm getting the name right. Who also speaks about how the police is structured in such a way that it cannot perform its duties well. I mean, I have no doubt at all that the current Inspector General of Police is a nice guy who wants to do his work. The Ghana Police Service has had some of the best police officers in the world, not just in Africa, in the world. I mean, Asante Apietu, or Apietu, whatever his name is, Kudalo, Al-Hassan, mentioned them. First-class police officers, distinguished service and so on. But the police is structured in such a way that it cannot work. Listen, there are some things that I cannot talk about today because some personalities have been put before court on very grievous charges. And I cannot, and they stop from discussing them in detail. But it points to a certain trend. If you have the courage to criticize even the structure of the police and so on, you may find yourself in circumstances which may not be too pleasant and so on. I have no confidence today in the ability of the Criminal Investigations Department to carry out investigations into these allegations, the result of which will confirm the reality. I have no such confidence. Then I've heard those who have come forward and said, let the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice investigate the matter. Indeed, as a matter of fact, somebody has petitioned the administration, the commission, Shraj already. I won't talk much about Shraj. I want to wait to see what is likely to happen. And then we are told of a parliamentary inquiry. Hey, Parliament again. Hey, Parliament again. Parliament.
That's all we have. That's the last one.
What can I say?
That's the last one.
Parliament again. Well,
that's the last
What
one.
else is there?
So it makes it difficult.
But what can I say? I can't say anything. Parliament again. To carry out an investigation into such a huge matter with ramifications for all of our lives. Parliament again. To carry out investigations into something that is leading to the death of deformed babies. Something which is killing fishes in our rivers. Something which is degrading our environment and so on. Parliament again. What can I say? Now, if all of us look at the different institutions which are mandated by Ghanaian law and constitution to carry out such investigations, and all of us end up wondering whether or not Frimpong Boateng can get justice, whether or not reality can be confirmed, and so on, then we have a huge problem. Then our democratic institutions are not working. So what is the remedy? I don't want to think far. Because if you start answering this question seriously, the conclusions you come to may send you to places you don't want to go. It's so scary, so frightening. In the face of all of these difficulties, in the face of the threat and so on, which institution in Ghana can hopefully, correctly investigate this matter and get justice and lead us to the truth? Everybody come to your own conclusion. But whatever conclusion you come to, I am sure that it will scare you. It will scare you more than Mami water. It will scare you more than Kakai. It's so scary. You can't rely on the police. You are not sure whether to rely on Parliament. You hear Shraj and you are asking questions as well. So where is the democracy in Ghana? I'm frightened. And I know that many people are frightened.
Oh, yes.
And if we can't get justice from our elected officials, if we can't get justice from constitutionally mandated institutions and so on, where do we turn to? Of course, there are places we can turn to, but we can't say them, we can't mention them. Because the moment you mention them, hey!
Treason.
Where you will land, only God knows where you will land. And I don't want to land there. So I'm not going to say it. Where can we turn to in this era of desperation? In this era where we can't find truth? In this era where reality is buried and so on? Where can we turn to? Please don't force me to tell you where to turn to. Everybody knows where we can turn to. I'm not going to say it. It's a very frightening experience. It frightens me about the future of this country and frightens me about our democratic practice. I'm really, really worried. But there are some things that we can insist on. Even in this situation of hopelessness and so on, there are some things that we can insist on. It doesn't cure the problem, but at least it takes us closer to the facts. And what I insist on is no matter who is investigating this matter, let us do it in the full glare of public. Whether it's right or parliament or police or soldier or fire service or whatever, let's do it so that all of us can see. So if there's going to be an inquiry, it must be a fully fledged public inquiry carried live in the media. So we all see everything feely. So at the end of it, if Parliament investigates the matter and comes and tells us that it is A, we can, on the basis of the facts that we all saw, say that no, it is C. So that at the end of the day, if Shiraj investigates the matter and comes to tell us that it is black, we can all look in everybody's face and say it cannot be black, it is indigo. That's what we saw. So let us all agitate. Let us all make noise, shout loudly that whoever investigates this matter, whatever institution investigates this matter, all of us must hear and see, feel. This is not to say that that by itself will cure any report and subsequent action of its defense. Because, my brother, I saw what happened at Owusu West Boko. I saw it. I saw the guns flying, the bullets flying left, right, and center. Subsequently, I saw those whose lives have been destroyed forever. So, people whose legs have been amputated, people who will never be able to work again, and so on. I saw it with my own naked eyes. Why? The government then decided to set up a commission of inquiry. I didn't choose the members of this commission of inquiry. NDC didn't choose the members of this inquiry. Ekweadonko was not involved in the choice of the members of this commission of inquiry. The government itself chose them. And everybody chosen to serve on that committee of inquiry was brilliant. At least in terms of their qualifications and so on, they were brilliant. One of them today sits on the Supreme Court. There was Justice Emil Short, who used to be the chairman of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. There was a former police chief on the commission. The secretary to the commission was a brilliant law lecturer and so. At the end of the day, government which appointed the committee, who chose the members of the committee, decided to, excuse my language, bullshit the report of the committee. It rejected the report of the committee. So as we speak, nobody has been held responsible for what happened at Owusu West Uwogon. And Masa, do you know the worst part of it? Do you know the worst part of it? Some of the persons who were identified by this committee of inquiry as being responsible for what happened in Owusu West Uwogon, the killing of NDC sympathizers and so on, were finally rewarded by members of parliament of the NDC. What can I say again? NDC members of parliament, some of them, told us that those who killed or injured or maimed their sympathizers did an excellent job and deserved to be rewarded, and they rewarded them. Fantastic. What an opposition political party. Fantastic. So today, as we sit here, with the Freeport Voting report in our face, what can we expect? The Freeport Voting report is lying in our face. 37 pages. What do we do with it? I don't know. How can we get justice for all those who have lost their cocoa farms? How can we get justice for all the mothers whose babies have been deformed as a result of the poisoning of the environment? How can we get justice for the families of those who have fallen into pits and died? I don't know. This is where Ghana has come to. And you see, after this report, my goodness, you should be listening to the contentions, especially from leaders of the New Patriotic Party. Listen to them. I'm sure you've all listened to them. Somebody came and said, oh, me? I was only making a little money from this thing from my professional practice. I was acting as a professional. Why are you complaining? Just acting as a professional. We hear. Then somebody came up with a smart idea that look, this report, we have to rubbish this report. The only way of rubbishing this report is to demonstrate that Frimpong Boati himself is a galamsey. Drag his son into the center, smear his son, and then if you manage to smear his son, oh, then all of us say, Abu. So they went and got some letter. I think the letter is dated 2014, about 2014. A letter signed by somebody called Frimpong Boati, and I don't know who the hell that person is. But the letter signed by somebody called Frimpong Boati to the Minerals Commission, saying that you gave our company 5 concessions, but we are so broke that we cannot deal with all the 5 concessions. So we are going to deal with 2 or 3. Take the rest and give to somebody else. And they said this is evidence of Frimpong Boati's participation in Galamsey. You see, they can't even think anymore. They are brain dead now. They've been engaged in all kinds of stupid acts. They've been consumed by stupid acts to the extent that their brains no longer function. Concessions given by Minerals Commission are not Galamsey. They cannot be Galamsey. And in fact, we should be commending whoever wrote that letter to the Minerals Commission. That person says, you're giving me 5. It's too much. Take some. And I think that is evidence of Frimpong Boating's involvement in Galamsey. How stupid can they be? Master, how stupid can people be? And they put it in the newspaper. And some newspaper editors actually accept to publish this. Hey, if I see this published in the inside, I'll collapse. Because it will be the clearest indication that those of us who work on the paper, our brain works anti-clockwise. You put this in your newspaper and say it is proof of Galamsey, that Frimpong Boating is involved in Galamsey. But you see, I've said some things before. Maybe I should repeat it. You see, why do we all think that if you don't become a minister, you are useless? That you must necessarily become something appointed by the president for you to be relevant to your society? Why are so many people jumping over themselves to become president as if it's the only means of working for your society? Look, the truck driver is serving his country. The mechanic is serving his country. Without the mechanics, do you know how many people would have died through accidents? For me, I have a lot more respect for the mechanics that I see than many of these people who are driving four-wheel drives with alarms on them and so on. Because these mechanics, they are preventing accidents. They are saving lives. The herbalists in the village, they are saving people from dying from malaria and so on. They are making a serious contribution. I don't know if we still have nice soil collectors in the country. I don't know. But nice soil collectors they did a wonderful job about our sanitation to prevent disease, to prevent death and so on. Some of those nice soil collectors have indeed better credentials than some of these charlatans you see parading around as government appointees and so on. So I wonder why everybody and anybody wants to be president. In fact, these days, you see some of the people who are aspiring for presidency, you say, is this where we have come? Some of the people who are throwing themselves at us, saying that they too, they want to be president. And you say, hey, babe. You know, and these people, I like to remind them of something. What they actually want to do is to occupy Kwame. They should not forget that what they are telling us is that they want to be the next Nkrumah. The people who are offering themselves for president, what they are telling us is that they want to fit into Kwame Nkrumah's shoes. Look at your feet before you attempt to wear Nkrumah's shoes. Look at your feet. Your crooked, smelly feet. You understand? Now, if we were to look at things like that, perhaps some of us will be dissuaded from our stupidity. You want to be an Nkrumah, president. That's what you want to be. Check yourself. But you see, that is the problem, Master, we have. Professor Frimpong Boating, Professor Frimpong Boating, his contribution to the development of Ghana, his contribution to the development of healthcare in Ghana, and let me use the cliche, will be written in gold forever in our history. A heart surgeon who left all the things that he could have had abroad and came home to serve his own people. The man who is credited for the establishment of the cardiothoracic center, I hope I got it right. Yeah. Against all odds, he worked day and night. He raised his own funds and so on to do that. After this, you go and accept this nothing appointment. Today, look at the people who are talking back at you. The people who are talking back at you. Why could they not take Professor Frimpong Boateng concentrate on his job as a surgeon? Perhaps he didn't want to be selfish. Perhaps he wanted to serve in other capacities. Perhaps he was not satisfied with the glories that he had inched in history and so on, and wanted to move on. But my plea is that all of us must not be president, all of us cannot be president, all of us must not be ministers, all of us cannot be ministers. It helps. It helps. You find somebody who is a very brilliant professional, and then he resigns, and is sitting in some God-forsaken ministry which has no budget. The budget allocation for that ministry, when he pays salaries and allowances, finish. Nothing for development. And a highly trained, highly qualified professional accepts a job as a minister and sitting in that ministry doing what? Why? I can't understand. So, I don't know why Professor Frimpong Boateng decided to join the rat race. And what he actually joined was the rat race. His own report confirms that he joined the rat race. The rat race as sung by Bob Marley. That's the race that Professor Frimpong Boateng joined. Rat race. Today, all the sorts are out there for him. Some want to cut his head off. Some want to peer his ribs. Some want to cut a piece of his buttocks and so on. But all the knives are out there for him. I wish I knew how to pray. I just wish that I could pray. And if I could pray, if I knew how to pray, I would have said a word of prayer for Professor Frimpong Boateng. Unfortunately, I don't pray.
Sure. This is actually a prayer.
I'm sure someone can teach you how to do that. Well, this is this is what Mr. Pratt was referring to. In fact, this is the point which speaks loudly to what the Jubilee House issued. At the outset, I'm quoting, it must be pointed out that the document being discussed was not an official report formally delivered to the office of the president. On the contrary, it can only be rightly referred to as a catalogue of personal grievances and claims made by Professor Frimpong Boateng, intended to respond to some issues he faced as chairperson of the IMCIM. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. When we come back, we'll conclude.
He has labored.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle, health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Late Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those socio-economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. And personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma Pratt. Still, the only TV show with a hat.
China Now is a show dedicated to providing the world with an overview of today's China. Here, you will learn about how China works, how China thinks, and how China views itself and the rest of the world. Let China not be far away from you anymore. Join us every Saturday at 8 a.m.
He has labored, he has suffered.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us on the Mother of All Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. I still have Kwesi Pratt Jnr. in the studio with me. I also have Solomon Owusu, member of the MPP's communication team. I have Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor, who is a former Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress. And sitting right by me is Gabriella Tetteh, who is a Central Regional Communications Officer for the opposition NDC. Well, we have to move on to our last two discussions. We do not have enough time, but I think we have enough time to make brief comments on the last two issues. The first one has to do with the nomination of a new Chief Justice. She has to go through the processes, though, to take over. And then there's the matter of the war in Sudan. This time around, okay, so I'll start with Doc again. Doc. Okay.
So, but, Sena, I wanted to take some
less than 10 minutes.
Don't worry, let me take some quick bites.
Yeah.
Let me take some quick bites on some of the issues that my colleague panelists have spoken about, particularly about an aspect that brought in the net international reserves and our import cover. Okay. And I was trying to draw the document out here. It's here, I mean, point 17 of the Monetary Policy Committee report for March indicates that our net international reserve stands at $2.6 billion. And $2.6 billion just represents about 28 days of import cover. 28 days, and this is as at February ending, according to the report. So, I mean, if you are sitting here and you are deluding yourself, in fact, from February till now, we have not even had any major you can read.
It's not reading.
No, that is gross international reserve. We have, you see, that's the thing. There's gross international reserve and net international reserves. The net international reserves is adjusted for. It's adjusted for.
You're not going into technicalities.
But that is the difference. No, she spoke about international reserves, and I'm saying that the gross international reserves, includes the stabilization fund and all those. But what you use to measure the import cover is the net international reserves. That shows your strength in terms of. If everything shuts down, perhaps maybe you have to explain what the import cover is. If everything shuts down in Ghana, and we have to survive, how many days can we survive with the reserve that we have? Can we buy medicine? Can we buy vaccines? Okay. It's 28 days.
Can you make the point?
It's just 28 days.
The two of you have
and there's a reason why we have depleted our reserves to this point. And even if you read the Monetary Policy Committee report, it shows a very interesting trend. Okay. And the analysis I made about the gold for oil thing, it shows that the gold, exports has gone up because all the exchange that we do, we add it to the exports. But in real terms, we are not getting the foreign exchange. So over 1.2 billion of gold exports, and you don't get the foreign exchange. So what you do is that you are sitting down deceiving yourself that you are running trade surplus, and you are doing very well. The exports is doing well, but you don't have the cash, and you are struggling. So who are you deceiving? Again, Sena, when Solo was talking, I mean, he was trying to, dress up the issues and make a claim that, the NDC is more involved in the Galamsey, blah, 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 blah. First of all, when I started, I was very careful. I said, look, there is artisanal small-scale mining, which we have prescribed as illegal. They must follow certain procedures, and there is illegal mining. If you read the report carefully, Professor Frimpong Boateng was very explicit. Everywhere he has mentioned anybody's name, he has indicated the kind of mining the person was doing. The case of Gabriella Tetteh, he said the company had engaged in illegal mining, and they had entered into territories that had not been given to them. They had destroyed water bodies. And Gabi was calling to say that, it is my client, it is our business, so don't go there.
You're using prospective license.
You understand?
It's in court.
And no, I mean, which part is in court? They should go to court and talk about it. We are discussing the report. It's public document now, and the fact shows clearly that if we want the most powerful person in this MPP government in Ghana today, you can't bypass Gabriella Tetteh. He's virtually the prime minister of this country, running the affairs of state. So if the most powerful person in the MPP government would call a minister who is responsible for this, taking legitimate action against an illegitimate act conducted by a company, then you have him call and say, oh, leave this one is our own. It feeds into the bigger narrative and other evidence that is even replete, and we have discussed, over and over and over again. You remember the party here Sky recording and the subsequent revelations that came after that. I think that this whole Galamsey thing is something that we must take serious, and I'm very tempted to side with Uncle Kwesi. You see, you can't go to the police. We don't trust that the police can do a good job, and I assure you when we say we are handing over this to the police, we are joking. Then we don't know Ghana. Then maybe we are Abba fresh in Ghana. We don't know Ghana. Police cannot give us any out. Charge. They will do the reports, and the report will come anyway. But essentially, what can you do with the report? Parliament, which is also supposed to have the powers to bite, we will do that. But the challenges also persist. But I think we cannot afford to throw our hands in despair. At least for Parliament, I know that we have some very, good people in Parliament. And we have two sides of Parliament. Our NDC members of Parliament are very meticulous. At least, as Uncle Kwesi said, there must be an open, transparent, inquiry into the matter. So that if for nothing at all of us would see the exact and the extent of the damage that we have caused.
Okay, I have said that you have 2 minutes on the last two topics.
Oh, the last two topics. Oh, okay. I'm enjoying the Galamsey one. But let me wrap up on that. So, this whole issue, I think that the president, at least in his last days, he's not contesting again. Now, Alan Chamatin and Boamah are slugging it out, and it looks like a very interesting fight, and it looks very good for us. We are very well positioned. But at least in these last days, President Akufo-Addo, do something before you die. Just leave a legacy. Just leave one positive legacy. Do something before you die. Because you see, every single golden opportunity offered to this man, he has failed. Look, your finance minister has failed. Sack him. You can't sack him. Your people get involved in corruption. You tell yourself clearing agent. You clear them. Build road. You can't build roads. Build hospital. You can't build hospital. Even the hospitals that they are built, buy bed inside. You can't buy bed. Vaccine. Go and buy vaccine for vaccination. You can't buy. National Health Insurance. You have destroyed it. Everything that you've been left with, you have destroyed it. At least this small one. 2021, you got the report. It's been 2.5 years, almost 3 years. You didn't do anything. Thank God, hallelujah. This document has come out. We are discussing it. President Akufo-Addo, do something before you die. But you see, essentially, this whole discussion gets into the realm, narrows into the realm of how we have bastardized our institutions. And again, we have appointed a new Chief Justice. We appointed some few years ago. And we saw how the judiciary system has been run, such that the people of this country have had very low confidence in the judiciary. There have been cases where even the Chief Justice had been accused of collecting some $5 million bribe here and there, and we didn't see how that matter ended. We have a new Chief Justice. We have had new members of the Electoral Commission appointed. Partisan political operatives put in the Electoral Commission. President Akufo-Addo has just been on a distraction spree, bastardizing and destroying all the institutions that we have built to protect this democracy. So we are on it. We are still going, destroying and destroying. When is Akufo-Addo going to end this distraction? When is Akufo-Addo going to end this distraction? Mr. President, If you can't do it, just resign and go and sit somewhere.
Okay.
But you see, we cannot continue on this path because you see where it's going. It is becoming very scary. The institution that embodies our democracy, above all other things, judiciary and all that, is electoral commission. Now look at what we have done to the electoral commission. We have turned it into a subcommittee of the MPP. Virtually the MPP electoral committee. They run things only for the MPP. Where are we going? I am scared. Uncle Kwesi, you are not the only one who is scared. I am scared too. And I believe that everybody is scared. Where we are going, you don't know where to pass. Whether to go to police, to go to fire service, to go here, to go there. You don't know. So it gets to a point in time where the people would start advising themselves. And that is how democracies die.
Okay. Doc, thank you. Thank you. This is, let me say a big thank you to Shine FM in Akachi on 96.9, Hills FM in Adakula 91.7, Nyawasi Radio Ketekrachi is on 89.7, Sela Radio Dabala 97.1, Diamond FM in Tamale is on 93.7, Bewa Radio in Yendi on 106.5, Radio Kita on Saboba on 95.7, Benya FM Elmina on 105.7, Global FM in Ho 105.1, Volta 1 TV, Zebs FM is on 95.9 in Zebila, True FM 92.5 in Adeso, Lamara FM 89.1 Tripoli, Boamah 88.7 in 88.7 FM in Jasikan, and Lukusi 96.1 in Vergolokwati. Solomon Owusu.
Well, time is fast spent, and so I'll deal with a few matters that have been raised by Peter. First of all, the EC is never an appendage of the MPP, and anytime I hear my brothers from the NDC together with our sisters talk about the EC, I find it very offensive. This is the EC that supervised an election which produced a hung parliament. MPP was having 169 seats, we had to drop to 137. All the members of the NDC who are in parliament are there because the EC pronounced them winners. And the MPP will be a very stupid party to go and connive with an EC to only reduce our numbers. The Mensa that we accused, or people said was part of the MPP, supervised an election. We dropped from having a difference of 970,000 in the last elections to 500,000. So MPP would be a dumb party to bring somebody who will only come to reduce our votes and also numbers in parliament. So let's get that straight. Again, on the issue of Galamsey, I believe it's a national issue. The general consensus here is that you can't play partisan politics with it. The report captures what people are doing to destroy the environment. As you rightly read, the prof was very emphatic when he said NDC members are doing Galamsey and so are NPP members. The thing is that we must let institutions work. If institutions are going to work and work effectively without any interference, I'm sure this matter should not be a matter that we should even establish any committee to look into it. Because someone has perpetrated a crime. Why must we then pamper the person? Somebody did not have a permit to enter a forest. The person did. It is not like that you are negotiating with you. Straight away, that person must be hauled before the law courts to face the laws of the land. Particularly when you have amended the laws of illegal mining and its attendant punishment. So for me, those calling for committees here and there, we are only shifting the goalposts. If anybody has done anything untoward, let us all go back to the environment, see the areas that are destroyed, check whether or not those areas had permits to be destroyed. Those that had legitimate licenses to operate, were they to operate to destroy the environment, or were they to operate to reclaim the land after the activity? That is what we must do. And if they had legal documents to do carry out the operations, was it the case that when they are done, they should reclaim it? If they have not done so, we should push them back to go and do what is right. Then all of us will be safe. Sudan, our African brothers, we can't keep disappointing ourselves. 2 generals killing innocent souls because of power. I think about 500 people are already gone. Several of them displaced. And the neighboring countries that these people are running to even saddens my heart. What is in charge for you to run there? What is in Ethiopia? Kenya already, as we speak, is in shambles. And we are fighting for it because two generals, one wants to take over, and so we must sacrifice human beings. And it exposes how ineffective the African Union has been. For that, we must begin to sit properly to deal with our issues. In terms of the CJ, what more can we say? She's there to do what? Justice to all manner of people. Strengthen the judiciary. If we are not going to, as it were, target with partisanship, as Enimye was suffered at the hands of our brothers from the NDC. When a whole general secretary tagged him as being someone who takes bribe, $5 million. He hanged on the man, and I'm sure after 24th of May, when he even retires, maybe a child who will be born after 20.
Which general secretary tagged him?
No.
It was somebody who accused him.
It was an allegation.
Somebody who
allegation.
Yes, so
the matter went to the General Legal Council. What was the outcome?
The allegation must be proved.
No, but the matter went to the General Legal Council. What was the outcome? And do you believe for a moment that he took bribe? But he was tagged with it.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it.
There is no contrary evidence not to believe. The only one we have is the claim that the...
Oh, but he who alleges must prove. It's not he who is accused that must prove himself. And so there was nothing. I believe that she has to up the game, make sure that we have a lot of people losing faith in our judiciary. She has to behave differently to see to it that it is reformed to the benefit of entire population. That is all that I can say.
Thank you. Three messages. One, this is from Kweku in La Paz, who says the destruction of this MPP government, the destruction this MPP government is causing in Ghana will consume all of us. There's Goy Lolonya, who says in a democratic dispensation, if you buy the conscience of the very people who are supposed to put you on your toes, you fail miserably as a leader. And Musa Abato says President Akufo-Addo has been disappointed in the fight against Galamsey because the back stops the back stops with him as Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Forces. What have they done after about the Anas expose where the people in the Jubilee House caught pants down, taking bribe, and Erastus Asare-Donkor documentary where glaring evidence was shown of how people in authority were involved in Galamsey. Gabriella.
Because we have about 5 minutes left. War in Sudan, unfortunate. I'll be very brief on that one. I just want to inform Ghanaians who are resident there that if you've not been evacuated out, you are better off finding your way to the embassy or army council to have yourself registered and then find yourself to a safer place. At least being in Ethiopia or Chad or South Sudan is still better than being in Sudan. On Justice Gertrude Otokunor, she's a product of my alma mater, Wesley Girls. So I'll just have to congratulate and then the women fraternity too. I can't speak against a fellow woman. I don't know her that well. I haven't really taken time to really study her profile.
Except for the election petition, where her rulings were very consistent.
She was showing clear.
Okay, can Gabriella?
So I haven't really had the time to really study her profile yet, because I mean she's here to appear for vetting, for us to get to know her personality and all that. But as somebody from my alma mater, and the third that we have produced for the Republic of Ghana, we are looking forward to the day that we produce a female vice president or a president. What nonsense is that? If we could produce chief justices.
Don't worry, very soon.
You're taking the wind out of my face.
This is Abbas Amogogo in offense, who says Professor Frimpong Boateng gave his report over 2 years ago to the president, who swept it under his carpet. Now it has been leaked. This government is full of wickedness and selfishness. 2025 can't come fast enough. Samuel Evansota says, Solo, please, Jim Mensah was only responsible and returning officer for presidential elections and not parliamentary and election. And concerning the presidential elections, genuine, honest, and every trustworthy person is a witness to a manipulation and confirmed by Nieboa and others at the Supreme Court. Watching you live from Birmingham. Thank you very much for that message. Please let's listen to Mr. Pratt.
Well, I mean, the first issue I like to deal with is the appointment of a new Chief Justice. Quite frankly, I don't know her that well. But one of the processes that is meant to guarantee that whoever occupies that place is worthy of the position is parliamentary vetting. I'm hoping that the parliamentary vetting will be vigorous, it will be serious, and as required by the standing orders, will be open to receive petitions from the public. If we do it well, it will be to the benefit of all of us. Again, I think that the Supreme Court itself has structural problems. And sometimes it may not be a question of who occupies the seat of the Chief Justice. The structural deficiencies itself can be used to undermine the Constitution. And the major structural deficiency of the Supreme Court is the fact that it has no upper limit. So if currently we have 17, 20, 25 people on the Supreme Court, and you have a government which is reckless, a government which wants to have its way by all means possible, at the level of theory, the government can add 30 more justices to the Supreme Court and nullify the decision of the Supreme Court as currently composed. We have seen it before. We have seen it happen in this country before. In the case of Mr. Chachuchikata, we saw the manipulation of members and so on. So no matter who sits as Chief Justice and so on, I think we've got to be looking at the structural deficiencies of the Supreme Court. We want justice, okay? And at least in theory, justice is not definite. Justice is one of the terms which is very relative. What is justice for him may not be justice for me, and so on. And that is why it is important to compose the Supreme Court in such a way that all shades, to the extent that is possible, may be reflected in the bench of the Supreme Court. I want to congratulate this woman, this judge, this mother, for her elevation to this position. Not many women have the opportunity to serve the country at the highest level. So when one does get the opportunity, it is only fair that we salute her and encourage her and insist that she should be a proper model for justice, for women, and for Ghanaians.
I thought you were going to touch briefly on the Sudan issue. I still have 5 minutes more.
Sudan is so complex that 5 minutes will not do justice to it. Very, very complex. So we'll discuss Sudan at another time.
Okay. Thank you. Then I'll do a few messages. This is Idrisu Nafiu who says, good morning. Please, this government has basically strangulated this country and everyone in it. They decorate poison and feed it to everyone. I want some questions to be asked about the youth in afforestations, monies owed beneficiaries who by qualification were supposed to have been paid those monies. In short, I am saying that Forestry Commission and by extension this government are still owing many beneficiaries like myself, about which they have been dead silent and just want to kill the matter. This is because most beneficiaries are tired of following up for their monies, and others are even afraid of the kind of people we are dealing with. We need our monies and this wickedness must stop. That's from Idrisu Nafiu who sent that one. This one says, good morning to you, Mrs. Sena and your panel, especially Madam Gabriella Tetteh, for her wonderful submission. In fact, I've always this one continues. I think he's justifying the reason I should give him your number. Thank you very much for sending that, Sabawa Ashiri. Okay. So let me just read. It says, I have always admired her presentation. Would love to have her number. I'm a member of the great NDC of good standing. But my biggest disappointment will be for NDC to win power and people will not be put behind bars. We'll do our best to ensure an overwhelming victory for President John Mahama and the NDC. But duty bearers must ensure that these corrupt, inept, and incompetent officials must be held accountable for their actions and inactions when we come to power. This is Musa Bawa Achiri, communication team member in Yendi, saying, yes. No.
Suspicious.
Kojo Kaswa says, if Solo is it apologetic to the fast? Then he should not speak to insult our intelligence. I think that's what he's saying. That's Kojo who sent that from Kaswa. There's this one which says, Sena, please, can you recollect the caution to Ghanaians by Dr. Nyawo Tamarko, Mr. Kofi Kumsin, former President Kufuor, and the late Kwashiga about the dangers and consequences of Akufo-Addo becoming a president of Ghana? This one says, good morning. Please let Solo know that nothing can change the minds of the good people to vote for any candidate from the MPP. There's this one also says, Sena, kindly tell Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor that his brother Mosquito from Ketekrachi is watching him live. He should keep the fire burning. Thank you for that message. There's this one from Ras Odo at Koforidua. Says, my greetings to three comrades. I heard your panel members talking about Ghana Police Service. Maybe they are referring to MPP and Dampare Police Service and not Ghana Police Service. That's Ras Odo who sent that one. Okay. There's also this one, Edward Amanfo, who is joining us. Remember, before 2016 election, there was a publication indicating Akufo-Addo as the most dangerous opposition leader in Africa. Today, Akufo-Addo is a persona of anything including the social ecological system that come close to him develops cancer. There's Kwame Enim from Medina. I suggest that, thank you very much for your suggestion. This one says, Mr. Kwesi Pratt has shown that he's the only true journalist in Ghana. He is very fair, objective, and knowledgeable. Thank you for serving Mother Ghana. Thank you for your message too. This one says, the issue about Galamsey is serious. Some of us who see it as an abomination are even affected. I am a cocoa farmer. So now the chief in the area has allocated almost all the land, especially those waterlogged areas, to the Chinese for Galamsey. Unfortunately, I am at risk since my farm lies just adjacent to the one allocated to the Chinese. Even if they do not affect my land, how about the cyanide or mercury use and how it is going to affect my cocoa? It is serious. Thank you for sharing. There's Johnny Kujo, who is also joining us. It is a fact that Ghanaians have made a gracious mistake by voting for this incompetent government into power. They have nothing to offer this country, but they've come to destroy the nation. There's Emmanuel Dennison, who is also joining us. The president is complicit. He cleared Akonta mining. How do you expect him to induct Gabi Ochridako, his prime minister? Emmanuel Dennison sent that one. And this one says, I submit that most needs to be restructured. Okay, I hear you. This says, it says, I hope Solo is listening to Mr. Pratt's advice in good faith. All kinds of useless people want to be president.
What is he trying to say? Yeah, listen, it's true. All kinds of useless people want to be president. If you believe it,
my viewers and listeners are fantastic with some of the comments they sent to me. Thank you very much for sending all those comments. I hope I went through as many as I can. And thank you very much for making time to join us since we started on the Mother of all talk shows. Alhaji and Alhaji was live on Pan-African Television, live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM, also live on several affiliates across the country. We'll join on Facebook, YouTube. I can see the numbers still there, Facebook and YouTube. and I'm always grateful, always wonderful to see you on a Saturday morning. It's already afternoon, so we have to go, and we thank you for making time. We will see you same time next week. A big thank you to Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jnr, who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, a veteran journalist. Solomon Owusu, who is bold for Alan this morning, is a member of the MPP's communication team. And of course, a big thank you to Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor for making time to join us. He's a former Deputy General Secretary, but he's, I'm not so sure, is he agricultural economist? I think he's an agricultural economist. Thank you very much for joining us. And a big thank you to Gabriella Tetteh, who is Central Regional Communications Officer of the National Democratic Congress. I am Sena Nombo. Let me say a belated happy birthday to lawyer Victor Kojoga Adawudu, who celebrated his birthday yesterday. I know his birthday wish will be to be the parliamentary candidate for Central Tongue. Yes.
Or because of the economy?
He's out of town. I think it's in the Central Town constituency. So thank you all very much. Thank you. And enjoy the rest of the weekend as long as, and have a fruitful week.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.